that main account sit and simmer for at least like 3, 4, 5 days, y'all. But what's up, Josh? What's up, Steph? Everyone coming into the stream, make sure to say what's good in that chat. I've really missed y'all. It's been a while, I feel like. What's up, Landon? I love you too. What's up, Eli? What's up, Cass? What's up, Savage Lover? What's up, Fish and Chips Spoof? What's up, James? What's up, Nadine? What's going on, Amara, Larky, Awesome, Jin, Hayden? I hope all of y'all have had a good weekend. I have had a crazy day. I actually went paintballing for my friend's birthday for a couple hours today. That was insane. Athena, thank you for the heart me. But anyways, for everyone coming up in here, if I could have y'all double tap on that phone screen, share out this live with a couple of friends, and just spam that comment section. It's going to take us quite a bit to get this live to send out on the For You page, just because we're on the new account, but I appreciate y'all for coming up in here. And today, guys, we're going to be talking to people that think it is wrong to be a lesbian. So if you think it is wrong to be a lesbian, make sure to hop in those guest requests, y'all. We are just looking for some debates today. We already have a guest. Guys, keep in mind, we're just looking for debates. Hi, do you think it is wrong to be a lesbian?
Hello.
Hi, do you think
Can you hear me? So when I would get intoxicated, I have hooked up with women, and I'll tell you that the taco don't taste as good as the hot dog. That's just all I'm going to say about, I found that out because I have tasted about 4 times. And I'm sorry. I mean, neither are like gourmet, you know what I mean? But I will say the hot dog was better. So that's just my 2 cents.
Oh my God. Maybe a hello. Maybe a how are you doing? Maybe a hi. No, she went straight into it. Oh man, I know that she was that was fucking funny, chat. Okay, well, we're gonna make this live a little bit more serious. We just want to talk to people that do think it's wrong to be a lesbian, but holy shit, that was funny. I gotta say, that made me laugh, y'all. If you're just coming in here, guys, make sure to hop in those guest requests if you do think it is wrong to be a lesbian. What's going on? Do you think it's wrong to be a lesbian? All right, they're automatically going on pause. I'm guessing that means that they're going to leave. For everyone coming up in here, I appreciate y'all for being here, right? I'm sure that this stream is just starting to send out. We are on this account because I'm a little bit scared of going on my main account. It did get permanently banned, but guess what? We got it back, as we always do. But we're just not going to be touching that live with a 10-foot pole, ladies and gentlemen. And for all 457 of y'all, I'm guessing you guys are part of that core Dean Team Dream Team, and you guys probably don't think it's wrong to be a lesbian. So we just need to get this live to send out on the For You page so we could draw some of the crazies into debate. And if you guys want to see some debates, I'm going to need each and every single one of y'all to double tap on the phone screen, to share out that live to a couple friends, and to, maybe drop a few comments, y'all. Those are all things that we could do to boost the engagement of the live, y'all. So in fact, we're going to just go ahead and send out a quick poll, respond with anything, while we wait on our first guest request here today. It's not wrong. I agree with you. You need to do a little bit more lives where you just chill with chat. Well, right now we don't have like a backup account to do so. But yeah, once again, everyone coming up in here, I appreciate you for being here. Right now we have no guest requests. Hop in there if you do disagree with the topic. All right, we have one guest request. Let's go ahead and load them up in here, guys. But guys, just remember to double tap on that phone screen. What's up? Do you think that it's wrong to be a lesbian?
Yeah, because you can't get dick in your butt.
Okay, that is a fetus. We're just going to move on to the next guest. Everyone, let's just collectively act like we didn't hear that. Everyone, let's just collectively act like we didn't hear that. Okay. Hi, PBL. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
Hello, can you hear me?
I sure can. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude, this is exciting. I've never thought I'd ever get on here one day.
Well, I don't want to rain on your parade, right?
But no. Well, I do think it's wrong, but God, I just never thought I'd be on here one day.
Okay, so well, why do you think it's wrong to be a lesbian? You sounded so excited to talk to me. I thought that you may have been a fan. No.
Well, I am a fan of you, Dean. No. Well, I am a Christian. I disagree with a lot of your worldviews, but I am a fan of you. I think you're a very intelligent individual. So,
Well, I
having the
appreciate
chance
that,
to
Big Neil.
engage in a rational discussion with you is like it's really exciting.
Well, I appreciate that from you. So I'm guessing that you think being a lesbian is wrong because of because of your religion.
Yes,
Okay,
because
so
God explicitly states it. Yeah.
Patrick,
Well, not
thank you so
God,
much for
but
the $15 on Venmo. I appreciate you for the love. W Patrick in the comment section. Thank you so much for the 15 bucks, Patrick. It's great to see you.
W. Patrick.
W Patrick. So yeah, I mean, let's just go ahead and start off with a more easy question. So what verse or verses in the Bible tell us that being a lesbian is wrong?
Well, it's stated in the book of Leviticus. It's stated in Romans. It's stated in First Corinthians, I believe. It's stated several times throughout the Bible.
Okay.
Jesus even explicitly talks about how when he metaphorically talks about marriage, he talks about how Christ is married to the church.
Okay.
Like in
Yeah.
how
Well,
we should be
let's just start
comparing
off with
that.
this.
Yeah.
How do you know that the Christian God exists in the first place? Because if you can't give me any good reason to believe that the Christian God exists, well, this would basically just, conclude in you making unjustified claims on the basis of a God that isn't real. So, give me an argument for the existence of the Christian God.
Well, okay, yeah, no, I agree. Would you say that the resurrection is the most accurate historical account that we have?
No.
Why would you say that?
Because we don't have any historical evidence for the resurrection occurring.
Well, when we're talking about eyewitness testimonies and, dissecting the textual criticism that we have for the Bible, what makes you say that,
I don't think we have any eyewitness
completely
testimony of the resurrection. Paul writes in Corinthians that 500 people saw it, but we don't have any way to test or verify that claim. And then additionally, right, when we're looking at history and we're trying to find out what claims are true and false about it, we'll typically look for consistency amongst contemporary or non-contemporary literature. And about Jesus and his life, we have no contemporary writings. We only have non-contemporary writings. And these are going to come from Jewish and Roman historians alongside a few other people. But I mean, none of them would give any evidence that the resurrection occurred, right? The only non-contemporary writings we have on it just simply say that people thought it occurred. So I actually don't find there to be any evidence, any proof for the resurrection.
Well, I have a question, okay, if that's okay. What would you say would prove the resurrection for you, right? Like, don't you think you would just have to prove that Jesus was a real person, he died, and he was seen afterwards?
Yeah, if you could prove that Jesus was seen after he died, resurrection would have occurred.
Right. So we're talking about over 200 separate people seeing Jesus after he was clearly crucified on the cross.
I don't think we have any evidence of that.
Well, we could start from the first one. Do you hold to the fact that Jesus was a real person?
Of course I do.
Or would you deny that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
Of course I hold to that.
Would you say that Jesus died through a crucifixion?
Yeah, most likely.
Okay, and what do you think happened with the body? Like, how would you, for example,
during the time of the Roman Empire, so one of two things were most likely to occur. Alexis, I appreciate you for the hand hearts. The body would either be left on the cross to decompose, or it would be put in a mass burial grave. And in the context of like Jesus in his tomb, we actually have no evidence that a tomb even existed. So I think that that's going to be like the biggest problematic error, right? We don't see any of the non-contemporary sources such as Josephus or Tacitus that wrote on Jesus and his life ever mentioning a tomb.
Well, okay, I see what your point is. I would disagree. I think we do have historical evidence for the empty tomb, but that's besides the point because I'm going to give you something to shoot at.
That's not besides the point. That is the point, right? So what's the evidence for this?
Well, you don't know any of the evidence, but like aside from the empty tomb, like regarding the empty tomb, because if you don't, then I would rather give you something to shoot at that,
Yeah, I don't think there is any evidence for it. I mean, if you want to go on to something else, feel free.
Well, I feel like I would have to give you like a source for that. You know what I mean? Not like I can't just tell you and say, "Oh, trust me, bro." You know
Alexis,
what I mean?
Thank you for the $20 on Venmo. I appreciate you so much for the love, Alexis. Let's get a W Alexis in the comment section right now. It is good to see you as well, Alexis. I hope you're doing well. W Alexis, y'all, and thank you so much for the $20 on Venmo. Yeah, for sure. So I mean, if you don't want to give evidence on that, maybe there's a couple.
In
maybe I could go
Jerusalem
over a
now
couple.
lies an empty
Rachel, I
tomb.
appreciate you
I'm
for the
sorry, I didn't mean to
hearts.
cut you off.
An
Hang on, wait.
empty tomb that is only dictated. Thank you for the hand hearts, W. And Witch King, thank you for the finger hearts. Yeah, any empty tomb that is claimed on behalf of Jesus Christ, right, is only upheld through like church tradition, and there isn't like any genuine historical evidence to suggest that it was indeed the tomb of Jesus Christ. But I think that there's some even
So
like
would you
bigger
call that a
issues.
biased source?
Yeah, church tradition, of course I would, right? Because this church tradition isn't backed by any evidence. I mean, you could give me church tradition as a form of evidence for your claims if the tradition in of itself has any meaningful evidence, right?
Right.
But like, here's my big issue. So I think that there's some bigger issues with the Christian creator. But let's just go ahead and go through this one. Do you think that God is perfect?
I do, yes, of course.
Do you think that anything is more desirable than perfection?
For a Christian, well, what do you mean by that? What do you mean?
Well, the definition of perfect is flawlessness, with a flaw just being some undesirable trait. So
Right,
if something is perfect, there's nothing, better than it in that context. Like, let's
Right.
just take a perfect pizza, for instance. If we had a perfect pizza, would it make sense to say that there's a better pizza out there, that there's a more desirable pizza out there, or that we
Right.
could change this pizza in any way, shape, or form and be left with a more desirable end result?
Right, right. Well,
No.
okay, so no, I see what the comparison. I just feel like in order for me to answer this, like I just want to clarify before I answer. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to dodge the question. I'm just trying to clarify. So if we're talking about biblical perfection, is that what you would say? Because I'm not sure.
I mean, we're just talking. So I gave you the definition of perfection. I'm just seeing if this would fit your God. Perfect is being defined as flawlessness, all right? The lack of any undesirable traits, and you would say that your God is perfect in this sense, correct?
Right. So I would say that God is perfect in living to.
I'm
gosh, I'm just
essentially
trying to-
asking you if God has any flaws, sir.
No, God.
So
if
God
you're
is
asking if God
perfect,
can
right?
sin, right? If God can sin, no, God cannot sin. God is perfect. Right?
PBL, I'm just asking you if God is perfect. Is God perfect?
Yeah, He is perfect. Yes.
Awesome. And is there anything more desirable than perfection?
For a Christian, there is nothing more desirable than being in that same state. So yes.
So what?
Okay, I'm saying that
I'm just
no
asking
state-
you if 1 second, sir. I'm just asking you if there's anything more desirable than perfection. And this isn't exclusive to the context of Christianity or Christians. I mean, we could just say this in a secular sense. If there's a perfect pizza, it means there's no better pizza, right? There's nothing more desirable than a state of perfection. If you get a 100% score on a test in school, you get a perfect score, meaning you couldn't have gotten a better score. So just to clarify here, you don't think there's anything more desirable than perfection, correct?
Right. Now, what trips me up what trips me up is when you say there's nothing more desirable than that. For me, I would say that it is desirable, but I would argue that there are more desirable states than perfection. But that's just what I hold to as a Christian.
Yeah, so you're essentially saying there's something more perfect than perfect.
No. I'm saying that there's more desirable states that we would want as Christians.
Okay, if you
that
want
is
something
more than
more
perfection.
If you want something more than a perfect state, then it's not a perfect state. Like the definition of a perfect state implies that it's the most desired state. Like,
Right.
For instance,
Are you
let's
talking
say
about perfection
let's say this, PBL, let's say this.
Yeah.
You have two pizzas. You like pizza 2 more than pizza 1. Would it make
Right.
any sense to say that pizza 1 is perfect?
No.
So then why are you saying that you like something more than perfection?
Right. Well, I'm trying to clarify what you mean by perfection. Do you mean like perfection
I've told
in
you,
its
I've defined
entirety?
you. I've defined
Right.
it for you. Flawless.
Because no, but what I'm telling you is that I believe that
No?
for a Christian, I'm just trying to answer the question.
Okay.
I'm saying for a Christian that I would say that the most desirable state for a Christian is to be in the presence of God rather than.
That's not really like relevant though. I'm literally just asking you if God is perfect and if there's anything more desirable than perfection.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm answering you.
No,
Dean. I'm
you're really
saying-
not, sir. You're not.
Well,
Like, just straight up, you're not.
well-
I can't run an
Yeah.
argument on you if you want to spend like 15 minutes talking
Okay.
about one
Well,
question.
just give me 2 minutes to respond, and then like if it's not an answer, then I can just give you a yes or no. How about that?
Sure.
Okay, so
I'm
we
gonna
can start
go
from
ahead
there.
and just give you my take on this. All
Okay.
I'm asking you here is if there's anything better than perfect in any context. The obvious answer to this is no. If you have a
Okay.
perfect
Okay. Okay.
pizza,
I'm sorry.
there's no better pizza than the perfect pizza. If you get a perfect score on a test, there's no better score that you could have got than the perfect score. If you have a perfect girlfriend, then
Okay.
there's
So I
no
was
better girlfriend than
misunderstanding
the
the
one you
question.
have.
Right. I was misunderstanding the question. I thought that you were asking that is there a more desirable state than perfect? Meaning,
That
is
is what
there
I'm asking.
a present? No, no. Is there a presence that we would rather be in aside from perfection? But what you're asking is there something better than perfect? The answer is no. So there is no desirable state than perfect.
So there's nothing more desirable than perfection, right?
Right. Right. It doesn't get better than perfection. Right.
Awesome. So yeah, you'd say that God is perfect and nothing is more desirable than perfection. So prior
Right.
to the point in which God created, God existed alone. And because the only thing that existed in those state of affairs was God, and God is perfect, those state of affairs were perfect as well. But now let me ask you something about now. Would you say that we live in a perfect state of affairs now?
No.
No. So God alone is perfect, but God plus creation is imperfect, right? So this reduces down to a contradiction, right? Because there's nothing more desirable or preferential than perfection, and God existing alone is perfection. This means there's nothing more desirable or preferential than God existing alone. And then you also said that God plus creation was imperfect. So it's less desirable than a state of perfection, and this is necessarily implied by the fact that there's nothing more desirable than perfection. So God went from a state that is more desired to a state that is less desired after he created. So in other words, you're essentially saying that God desired to do something he didn't desire to do. That is a contradiction.
Okay. So you gave like 2 points there. So to address the first one, I would say that God never necessarily ever needed us, right? God created for the purpose of wanting to create, right? So I don't know where you get off saying that, you know, God created because, you know, there was a more desirable state for him than the perfection that he was currently in, right? God didn't need us.
Wait,
There was never a,
is God perfectly rational, meaning that he only performs the most reasonable actions?
well, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Did God have a reason to create rather than not to create?
Well, I would say, well, I can answer it this way. I believe that God created for the purpose of having his creation glorified.
Yeah, that's not what I asked.
Well, no, I'm answering your question. You're
No,
saying,
no, I asked you if God had a reason to create rather than not to create, and you're just saying that
well, yeah,
God
he
had a
did have
reason to
he did
create.
have a reason to create, and I'm giving you the reason.
Well, did he have a reason to create rather than to not create?
Well, that I think that answer speaks for itself because God
It's a yes or
obviously
no?
created. Well, yes, I'm saying
Okay,
the answer speaks
so
for
you're
itself.
saying that God is perfectly rational. He only performs the most reasonable actions, and God had a reason to create over to not create. So therefore, since God only performs the most reasonable action, and God performed the action of creation in which he had reason for, well, this means that God necessarily created. God was forced to create because it was the most reasonable action, and God always does the most reasonable action.
Right. He was doing the most reasonable action in regards to himself, though. I don't understand where's
Here,
the
think about it this
argument.
way. Think about it this way. So God is perfectly rational. He only performs the most reasonable action. God had a reason to create over not creating. And since God only performs the most reasonable action, God could only create. There's not a possible world in which God didn't create, right? Because God always, in all possible worlds, performs the most reasonable action, which means it was necessary for God to create. And if something is necessary, right? If God didn't have any other option but to create, it seems like God had to create.
Well, I think this would more lead to the question on whether or not God has a free will, because God had that free will to choose on whether or not he wanted or
Can
did not want to
can
create.
God choose to do bad?
Well, no, but
So
that's
God has to do the good?
well, no.
And
I'm saying
no,
that's sort of that's sort of a straw man, Dean. Because
it's not a straw man at all. It's
yeah,
just,
because it's
just
not within
showing you
God's
how God can only
character.
act in accordance
No,
with his
no,
own character.
it's an invalid. No, that's like saying can God create a rock big enough that he can't move? Right. that it's not within God's character to
Yeah,
do
yeah. So
evil.
you're saying it? Yeah, exactly. God can't create a rock big enough, a rock too big for him to move. That's impossible.
Right, but
in the
that-
same way,
but that-
God
but-
can't do bad. That's impossible. In the same way, God can't do something that is not the most reasonable action. That's impossible.
Right, but it's
but
not
guess
because
what?
God
We've
cannot do
already
those
agreed.
things,
Yes, it is. God
No, it's
cannot
because
do those
if
things.
God,
Can God do something bad?
Okay, it's like this, Dean. I can put it to you this way: Jesus
No,
is God,
sir.
right? We, as
Please answer my
Christians-
question. Please answer
Well,
my question.
I'm trying to answer your question, right? But
No, you're not.
this is the way I'm going to answer it. Okay, if I completely like don't answer your question, then you can just kick me off the lot. But I'm trying to answer the question. Okay, when we're talking about Jesus, right? We're talking about Jesus as God incarnate. That's the worldview that most Christians will hold to, is that Jesus is God incarnate. So why was there certain things that Jesus wasn't able to do, right? If he is God. And that's because when Jesus incarnated himself into a man, he purposely allowed restrictions upon himself to declare that he wasn't going to do certain things. So if God were to create a rock too big for him to move, it's not because God cannot move it, because that's not within his character. God will not move that rock because he has purposely declared upon himself that he will not move that rock. But this question doesn't make sense because it's not within God's character.
I'm just going to go
do
ahead and
something
ask
like
you
that.
again. Can God do bad things?
No, God cannot do bad things because it is not within his nature to do bad things.
So
God
awesome.
cannot do wrong.
So it's impossible for God to do bad things, right?
Right, correct.
Right. Just like it's impossible for God to not perform the most reasonable action. Would you accept that?
It depends on what you mean by reasonable, though, right? Because
Well,
God didn't.
God is perfectly rational. He
Right.
only performs the most reasonable action.
Right.
Right. So you said right. So you do agree with me. So it's
I do
impossible
agree,
for
yeah.
God to do unreasonable actions. Right. And given the
agree.
fact that you said God had a reason to create over to not create, it would have been unreasonable for God to not create. So therefore, it was impossible for God not to create. What's the implication of it being impossible for God not to create? It means it was necessary for God to create. God had no other options. God couldn't not create. So it seems like God was forced to create.
Right. So here's the issue that you're trying, that you're, and it's self-inflicting, because when you're saying that God was forced to create, it's as if God had no other option. And I believe,
So,
and I
sir,
don't.
I ran you through the premises of my art. With all due respect, I'm just going to say this. I
Yeah.
gave you a premise by premise argument that reduced to the conclusion that God was forced to create. If you're going to engage with the argument, please don't just reject the conclusion. Tell me which premise you reject, right? Because
Well-
I feel like I gave you a valid argument. So in order for the conclusion to be false, at least one of the premises would have to be false. So which premise of my argument do you reject?
Right. So, but that's what I'm trying to say, is that the reason I'm rejecting your point as a whole is because it doesn't really make sense, and it doesn't correlate properly with biblical
It does.
context.
It does. I told you, right? So
Not necessarily, because you're painting this
so
picture
can
as.
I ask you what premise you reject? Because you can't just say I reject it because it doesn't make sense. I asked you. I went
I'm
through all the
rejecting it
premises
because
with
it's
you.
not accurately representing my
So,
position
so,
and
so
for what I believe
what
in
premise do you reject? The premises that I gave you logically entailed the conclusion. You can't just reject the conclusion and say,
Right.
"Nuh-uh."
The premise that I reject is that God needed to create us.
That's not a premise. That's a conclusion. Do you want me to do you want me to give you the premises again?
Well, okay, then conclusion, but that's what I reject, though, right?
I know, but you
don't
can't do
believe
that.
God
That's
needed
not
to do that.
that's not how that works. Because the premises I gave you necessitated the conclusion. So in order for you to reject the conclusion, you
Right, but
had
that's
to
what
at
I'm
least
that's what I'm
reject
trying
one of
to
the
explain.
premises.
That's what I'm trying to explain to you, is that God could have purposely exist. God could have purposely just existed on his own.
Not given
right?
my argument.
Because-
So which premise of my argument do you reject?
Right, but that's what I'm saying, Dean, is that's I feel
That's
like
not what
not,
you're saying. Give me the premise. What premise do you reject? I'm asking you for the premise that you reject, and you're not telling me the premise that you reject.
Right. So, okay, Dean, just to answer a question, sometimes it takes more than like 5 or 6 words
Do you
to
remember?
respond.
Do you want me to
So-
give you the premises again?
No, I know your premises, okay? But
Okay.
the reason I'm sorry, I thought I cut off. The reason why I'm rejecting it is because the conclusion of your premises, just to make sure I'm accurately representing you, is that God needed to create us, right?
Can you tell me which premise you're rejecting?
The fact I'm rejecting the premise that when you're saying, right, and I'm just making sure I'm not getting it wrong, that because God is reasonable and he makes the most rational decisions, right, him creating us was something that was within God's nature,
Man.
sorry.
You honestly sound really respectful, and I appreciate you for that. I am gonna go to move on to the next guest just because you're not giving me a premise right now.
Okay,
So
okay.
I've
Wait,
already
wait.
detailed to you how the premises of the argument entail the conclusion, and if you're gonna reject the conclusion, you have to at least reject one premise. But you're not telling me which premise you've reject or that you're rejecting, right? The first premise is that God is perfectly rational. He only performs the most reasonable actions. The second premise is that God had a reason to create rather than not to create. So therefore, given the fact that God is perfectly rational, he couldn't have not created because this would mean he's not perfectly rational, right? And if he couldn't have not created, if it was necessary for him to create, this means that God had to create because in no possible world he didn't create. So do you reject the idea that God is perfectly rational, or do you reject the idea that God had a reason to create rather than not to create?
Okay, here's what I'm rejecting though, Dean. I'm rejecting the fact that you're saying that if God didn't create, that means he's not perfectly rational.
So that is logically entailed from the idea that God had a reason to create rather than not to create. Because if you'd uphold the idea that there did exist reason for God to create, then this would mean it would be unreasonable for God not to create, because it'd be going against the reason to create.
Right. Okay. I feel like okay, so can we get into the reason why God created then? Because
No,
I feel like
it's
we're
not
not
relevant.
following.
It's not
It is
relevant.
it is relevant because in order
No,
to
no,
to
you could say the
properly
reason is whatever.
Okay, well, the reason for God to create does not correlate to him being rational, though, and that's why,
Okay, sir, I'm just gonna
struggling to
unless
engage
you
with
could,
this with you.
I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next guest. I appreciate you for coming up here. Listen, guys, if you're gonna come up here and talk to me about these legitimate premise by premise arguments, you have to be able to tell me which premise you disagree with. Hi, how old are you?
Hello?
Hi, how old are you?
26?
26. Very nice. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
No.
All right. Well, I appreciate you for coming up here. We're going to move on to our next argument. Yeah, that last guy seemed like, once again, a really respectful, nice, kind dude, but he was just unable to reject a premise.
Hi.
What's up? How old are you?
So I'm 21.
21. Very nice. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
So yes and no, and
That's a contradiction.
yeah, that's fine. That's good. It's not. I don't know. I just want to
All right. Well, I appreciate you for coming up here. We're going to move on to the next guest. Y'all make sure if we are in those guest requests that we do think it is wrong to be a lesbian, y'all. Guys, in the meantime, make sure that we're double tapping on that phone screen and sharing out that live to a couple friends here. What's up, Timothy? How old are you?
Yo, what's up, man? I'm 22, bro.
Nice.
And
Do you
yes,
think that being a lesbian is wrong?
I think it's worse than the gravest sin.
Okay. Are you a Christian?
My girlfriend's a lesbian, and it's the most selfish thing in the world, man.
Okay. I don't think it'd be possible for you to have a girlfriend as a man that's a lesbian.
What do you mean? I'm MTF, bro.
Okay.
Are you invalidating my gender, bro? Are we getting off to the wrong foot already?
No, I'm just questioning if you're being genuine.
Well, I'm genuine. Yes.
So why do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
Well, I'm an MTF, right?
That has nothing to do with anything, and I don't. You're probably not being genuine about that. You're probably lying to us when you say that, but it's really besides the point. So
I have a girlfriend, and she's a lesbian, and she's kind of what do you call that? Discriminatory against me because I'm an MTF, and I feel like it.
Yeah, they're obviously a troll. Let's move on to our next guest, y'all. Jesus fucking Christ. All right, guys, double tap on that phone screen. Hi, how old are you, Olivia? Yeah, do you speak? Do you have a mic? Nope, they only make loud mouth breather sounds. Let's move on to our next guest here. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure to share out that live to a couple friends. We just went live here today, y'all. What's going on? How old are you?
22.
22, very nice. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
No, actually,
all right, goodbye. Have a good rest of your day. We are just looking for some debates here today. We are just looking for some debates, ladies and gentlemen. Bro, stop kicking people. Of course I'm gonna kick people. Dude, if they're just... One second. Calm down, William. I just had 2 people in my comment section be like, bro, stop kicking people. The last person I kicked was like breathing into their mic. They're like... like, bro, this is a debate live. Please. Hi, William. How old are you? Oh, you're old
I
enough.
am 58.
You're old enough. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
Yes.
Okay, William.
Based on your premise that God hates. Based on your premise that God creates. And I can't remember. I can't remember the second premise. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it, William. Let's just set all that aside. Why do you think being a lesbian is wrong? Uh-huh.
Because
you,
God says it's wrong.
Aha! We got a Christian. What verse in the Bible tells us that being a lesbian is wrong? Oh, William.
Okay. I do not know the verse per se.
No worries, William. Hey, go read Leviticus. Go read Genesis, Romans, Corinthians, and Timothy. Find the verses, do your research, and come back up in here. William, I appreciate you for coming up in here. Bless his heart. Bless his heart. Let's go ahead and move on to our next guest here. Let's go ahead and see why do you always come back? Do you want another? You love me.
I mean, I always come back. I'll never leave.
You love me.
Dean.
Yes, you love me.
Dean, don't be gay. Don't be gay.
Okay, well, platform, you already fucked it up. You can't say that word. You can't say that word on TikTok. I was just gonna say that he wanted to fuck me. Hey, how old are you?
18.
18. What year were you born in?
06.
06. Very nice. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
I think it's not wrong, but unnatural.
Oh, okay. So can you define the word natural?
Something that is
so the definition of natural is something that's
You got me there, buddy. You got me there.
I just repeated what you said, sir. How did I get you there?
I mean, okay. Can I say this?
What? No. How did I get you? Where did I just? Okay. You know what? Say it.
Okay. We're in a place where we don't we follow what we follow the law. So humans can make right, wrong. So if we decide what we want, then shit. We don't have to. I mean, we're in a place where we can decide that. So, yeah.
So true. You know what? You give a very he left. What the fuck was he saying? He talked about the law, right and right, wrong and wrong. He defined unnatural as the... He was really on to something there. We're going to move on to our next guest, ladies and gentlemen. If we are in those guest requests, make sure that we do think being a lesbian is wrong. In the meantime, make sure that we are tapping away on that phony phone screen. Let's try to get up to 100K likes. Hi, Tay. How old are you?
I'm 18.
Nice. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
No, I do not.
All right. Beautiful, Tay. I appreciate you for coming up here. We are just looking for people that do disagree. Chat, platform is back in the guest request. Should we let them up? Let's get a smiley face for yes and a sad face for no. I will run the poll now. Hi, how old are you?
Hi, 20.
20, very nice. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
I mean, 50-50, because at the same time, like...
Do you think that basic human rights exist? 50-50. Okay, sorry.
Who is gonna be like the contraction workers of girls? Girls also need representation, and only lesbians do that job. Who's gonna plan our vacations? Because gays can't. Gays would prefer to,
Don't say that word. You have to say lesbian.
Stuff like that.
What are you yapping about? Hi. Don't say the G-A-Y word, okay?
Why?
Because TikTok will ban you for it.
Sorry.
No worries.
You're cute, by the way.
So you said nothing. bless your heart. You really said nothing. So you talked about lesbian women in construction and in vacation planning.
Yeah,
So
because who's gonna do it if not them?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's really smart for us to make these generalized statements about what jobs people work because of who they're attracted to. I think that those are really just like stigmas, and they're stereotypes, and they're harmful. So, anyways, apart from that, why do you think same-gender attractions are wrong? I'm not hearing a reason.
I mean, with homosexuality is like when you have two peepees.
Okay. Well, she's off base. We're just gonna move on to the next guest, please. All right, y'all voted platform. Should we bring platform up next? God, I talk to him like every day. I talk to him every day like clockwork. Okay, every day like clockwork, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. Y'all are really divided. We're going to run it again. Smiley face is yes, we bring platform up. Sad face is no, we do not. But in the meantime, what's going on, Christoph? How old are you?
What?
Hi, how old are you?
Wait, sorry. H or
No worries, Christoph. We're going to move on to our next guest here, chat. Guys, if we are in the guest request, make sure that we do think being a lesbian is wrong. We are just looking for some debates here. If you want to support me, my Venmo and my PayPal are in my bio. You'll get a notification on the top of my screen where you can attach your name as well as a message, and all the funds go directly to me, and I could give you a shout out, and I could read off your message on live. What's up, Mock? How old are you? All right, Mock isn't here. We're going to move on to our next guest, y'all. Keep in mind, we are just looking for some debates. We're going to go ahead and get Platform's front runner up in here. Hi, how old are you?
17.
Okay, goodbye. You sound like a good 14 and a half, but you got to be at least 18 to be on TikTok Live. Let's move on to Cameron. Everyone, just give us a moment to get a debate going. I don't want to talk to Platform again. Hi, how old are you?
I'm 22.
22, very nice, Cameron. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
Just want to come up here and say, everyone in the comments, if you can, gift him. He's a wonderful guy, and I love his videos and his lives.
Oh, Cameron, I love you. Hey, I appreciate you for coming up here, man.
You're welcome, bro.
Of course. Have a good one. I hit you with a follow, man. Have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Oh, let's get some W's for Cameron in that chat. Let's get some W's for Cameron in that chat. That was really cute. Okay,
Trump, I win both elections, and you still don't want to let me up.
You did.
I won both elections, and you still didn't want me up.
Not gonna lie, that's like your villain arc right there. You can hold that. Yeah, you did win both.
Yeah, and all 300 of you that voted, you better be following me because I don't ever ask. I don't ever ask for followers ever.
Even though like everyone was against you. Right, and I was telling them that I didn't want to talk to you, and everyone in the chat was spamming no. You still won.
I still won. I'll always win. So let's get to it.
Okay, Platform. Let's hear it. 1 second.
Let's get to it.
What do you want to talk about that we haven't already talked about?
Absolutely. I don't even know if we've had a real conversation, considering the fact every time I've had a conversation with you, you just steamroll and you run away from the points. So the reason why being lesbian is wrong is because in the Bible, and you can bring up Leviticus, but I have Timothy for you. So we can talk about the scripture. You can do what you want. But what I'm telling you is the reason is because God is real, and you can't prove God's not real. Can you?
I have like 4 times.
We
have this conversation like once every 3 days.
I didn't know an atheist could ever prove God's not real. I didn't know that.
Yes, I have shown an internal contradiction in your conception of God.
What facts have you presented? I would love to know.
Let's go ahead and pick up from where we left off last time.
What facts have you presented, Dean?
Yeah, I presented the fact that you agreed to me that God would only allow things in which all things considered should occur, yet you think God allowed something in which all things considered shouldn't occur.
What?
And since it's a contradiction and contradictions can't be true, right, your God can't exist. And then Joshy, I appreciate you for the $10 on Venmo. Thank you so much for the love, Joshy. Let's get a W, Joshy, in the comment section right now. Thank you for the $10.
You start talking about money. You start talking about, they sent me $5 on Venmo.
I got $10.
You don't know what to say in a debate. You don't even know.
No, so I had to thank my donor. I had to thank my donor. If someone sends me a donation, I have to thank them for it. Are you mad I'm getting money and you're not?
No, I don't need money from TikTok, dog.
You seem really bad.
I don't need money from TikTok. I don't need a second job like you, Dean. I'm not.
You,
I
you
don't
seem
need it.
very upset
So-
that they're sending me money.
So why do you believe that you can? Why do you think that you can sit and read scripture and say that Leviticus doesn't say it's wrong, and all of these other interpretations that you've come up with as an atheist? Why do you think that this is okay for your interpretation? Why is that right?
So here's where I'm at right now. I could plainly admit that the scripture says it's wrong. But I can also plainly admit that the scripture's nothing more than text on paper written by man. Very similar
So
to
what
Green
is-
Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. I'm just
Wonderful.
as likely to believe the Christian Bible when it says being a lesbian is wrong as I am to believe Dr. Seuss when he says eating green eggs and ham is wrong, for the reason that your God doesn't exist. It's nothing more than a man's opinion.
So what about so when we're camera? So do you need like video proof of things to be convinced?
No, I just need a couple responses to my questions to be
Sure.
convinced.
Sure.
So, do you remember last time?
But before you ask these questions, can I ask you? You hold to the fact that it was written by man and it's just a book. Do you accept that it is one of the oldest forms of history that we have, including the Dead Sea Scrolls are within the Bible?
No, I don't accept that. I think we have.
You don't accept that.
No, there's much older history than the Christian
Dean,
Bible.
You cannot accept the fact that the Bible is just history, but that's just a flaw to your.
Maya,
whole
thank you for the
idea
$2
and your
on
whole
PayPal. I appreciate you for the
platform.
love.
It's embarrassing, but go ahead, run me through your questions.
Well, I don't think it's a historical truth that this guy named Jesus
It
existed.
is a
and he was the
It
Son
is
of
a
God.
historical truth. You
You think it's a historical truth that Jesus was the Son of God?
Yes, obviously.
Okay, yeah. So let's just go ahead and look at the questions I got for you here. So, is God perfect?
God is more than perfect.
Okay, then there can't be anything more than perfection.
Well, he is more than perfection.
Okay, so are we just being intentionally like? Okay, we're gonna go through another issue. Is God perfectly rational?
He's more than perfectly rational.
What does that mean?
It means God is more than any definition you could ever put on him.
God is more than any. Okay, wait, is God more than God?
Well, that wouldn't make sense.
Wait, no, because you put the definition of God on him.
Wait, no, because you're using are you using his name to put a definition on his name? That's not how it works. You're using like an
You said God is
adjective.
more than any
You're
definition you
asking
can put on him. We put
adjectives,
the
and then this
definition
is
of God
what
on
this is
him.
what Ian does. You guys ask like adjective questions. You ask these questions, moral questions.
Larissa, thank you for
You
the
ask these
$6.66
questions.
on
But go ahead,
Venmo. I
go
appreciate
ahead,
you for the
go
love.
ahead. I
W
won't
Larissa in the
troll.
comment section. I appreciate you, Larissa.
I won't troll.
Thank you so much, Larissa. Yeah. So remember last time when you said God didn't have free will?
Wait, he doesn't. He doesn't have man's free will.
Patrick, thank you so much for the $5 on
Wait, let me
Venmo.
ask
Thank you so
you,
much for
Dean.
the love, Patrick. I appreciate you.
I'm
for that.
excited for this question. What is free will? What is the definition of free will?
Yeah, freedom of choice.
Wait, it's morals is behind this, correct? It's not just like freedom of choice. There's got to be a right and wrong decision with free will. It's
I
not.
don't think so.
You know, absolutely. Look up the definition of free will.
Yeah, the libertarian definition of free will.
No, I didn't ask about the libertarian definition. Now you're changing
I'm
it.
gonna give you
Dean, now
multiple.
you're changing it. What is
Wait,
the
there's-
definition of free
Wait, there's
will? in
three
the
kinds
Bible?
of free will.
Where did free will-
Victoria,
where was
thank
free
you for
will-
the $10
where was free will
on Venmo.
established?
Let's get a W Victoria in the comment section for the $10 on Venmo. I appreciate you for the love. So there's two
Where
kinds
was
of.
free will established, just like marriage.
Okay. Hey, shithead, I'm answering, please, dear Lord. So there's two types of free will upheld in the context of Christians, right? Some Christians take the position that free will is like libertarian, and some Christians take the position that free will is like compatibilist. So
Right. So what is a
libertarians,
compatibilist free will?
yeah, so that actions can be predetermined, right, while still being free. Like God could predetermine our natures while we'd still have free choice. Like there's outside
Wait,
influences
you're
on our
missing the
choice.
point of free will. So you're trying to take libertarian and whatever that word is, whatever you said, competitive or whatever.
Just tell me what you think free will is.
Free will is going to be the ability to choose right and wrong decisions based on a moral compass. That is free will. It has nothing to do with just making a decision if you need to go right or left.
So yeah, so you don't think that God chose to create since he doesn't have free will? He was forced to create.
Yeah,
Gagged.
I would say God is he wasn't you can't force somebody has
fucking gagged.
He forced himself to create, sure, absolutely.
So God was forced to create.
No, God, do you ever force yourself to go eat or force yourself to go drink some water?
Yeah, but I could stop forcing
Right.
myself to eat. Can
No, you
God
couldn't.
stop
Wait,
forcing himself to create?
You could stop yourself. So if you were sitting in front of a plate of food and you starved yourself for 7 days, you don't think that you would pick up food?
I'm saying it's possible for me to not pick up food, but when I'm
Wait,
implying
no,
that
your
it's
instinct would
not,
kick
it's not
in.
possible.
Your instinct would kick in. You would never unalive yourself by starving yourself to death unless you had an actual illness.
So yeah, so you're saying you never do this unless something else was true. So what we're seeing is that you're saying it's not necessary that this would occur. It's only like a
What is it?
potentiality
What
of it.
does this have to do with my
Jackson?
my
I
faith
appreciate you
at
for the
all?
$6.66 on Venmo. I appreciate you for the love. So here's my particular claim.
Dean, let's stick to my.
So here's my particular claim, because you're making an equivocation here. You're basically saying that you could force yourself to do these things. Well, yeah, you don't have to do these things, right? We can say that you're most likely to do these things, like eating food. I think that a reasonable person would eat food.
You're
if they
forcing
looked
yourself
at a plate
to
of
eat
food after like a week. But this isn't necessary. It's not true in all possible worlds.
Yes,
that
it
you
is.
ended up eating that food.
Yes, it is.
So you're saying it's a contradictory for you to not eat the food. What's the contradiction? You don't even know what these terms mean. You're so illiterate on the philosophy and on the literature.
You're throwing terms onto statements that don't even make sense. This is your
No,
problem.
these aren't me throwing terms onto statements that don't make sense. You specifically made the claim that it was necessary for this to occur. The definition of necessity is true in all possible worlds, and something is necessary if it is impossible to do otherwise. And something is impossible if it is contradictory, right? Or out of obedience with the classical laws of logic. This isn't me just throwing terms onto things that don't fucking matter. This is me just being more literate in the literature and in philosophy and in propositional logic. Tragic for real. But I want to talk about
Dean, no
starving.
one in your chat listens. Just heard a thing you said because you don't even make sense.
No, you just didn't
You
hear a
don't
thing
make
I
any
said.
sense. Your
I
minions
want
don't
to.
even
Why
know
do
what's going
4
on.
million
Your
children
minions
starve
don't
to death
even
a
know
year?
what was just said. That's
Why
so
do 4
embarrassing.
million children starve to death a year? I
So
think that
let me
this
ask you,
starvation is
Dean.
unnecessary and God is causing it. Therefore, God is doing something wrong.
Dean, let me ask you a question because
So you don't disagree with me that God's doing something wrong by allowing children to starve to death?
I think that you like run your mouth and you think you sound smart when you really just sound stupid. So I was going to ask you,
What
Dean,
did I say that was stupid?
if we're sticking off of my idea of free will, and I'm telling you, God does not have free will because free will is the ability to choose between good and bad. How could God have free will if he can't do bad? He could only do good. Therefore, he does not have free will in man's eyes. He doesn't have free will like you and I. So you can go look up on Google. You could say, does God have free will? It said, yes, maybe God has free will in a different sense, but God does not have the same free will that humans have. Does it not make sense to you? You need to dumb this down for your chat because you speak too much. You just speak too much. Now we can continue.
So I'm going to go ahead and give you the 3 approaches on free will that are accepted by everyone in the literature. So the first type of free will that's accepted is called libertarian free will. The second type of free will.
I don't care. We're talking about. I'm up here.
Maddie, I appreciate you for the money again. I appreciate you for the love.
Dean,
Thank
am
you
I
so much for
debating
the
you
money.
or are other Christians debating you?
You're debating me.
Okay, so stick to my idea. Of free will.
But
This is
okay.
what you
So
love to
would you like agree that you have a view on free will that literally no one else accepts?
False. No.
Name
That's
one
false. Bring
fucking
Rudy
church
up
father
here.
that
Bring
accepts
Rudy
it.
up here.
Name one, your brother, your little biological brother. Name one church
That's not my
father that
brother.
accepts your definition of free will.
Sure. Let me go look.
Maddie, I appreciate you for the win force.
No,
Thank you.
Dog, we're talking about me.
Okay.
I'm up here debating you. Stick to my stuff because
Okay.
you love to run
Okay.
your analogies.
Yeah, I got it.
Stick to my
I'll stick to your
hypotheticals, my
definitions. Let's
analogies.
go and look
Even
at the
if it's not
absurdity.
true, Dean,
Do
why
all
can't you
humans
run
have
with
free
it?
will?
Why can't you run with my
I will. I'll run with your definition.
All
Do
right,
all
great.
humans have free will? Maddie, I appreciate
Yes,
you.
all humans have. Well, you don't. I don't know. I would say yes. I would say yes to a point. Like if
Maddie,
you're like
thank you for
5
the
years
hearts.
old, I don't know if you really have like free will, or if you're like
yeah,
3
can
years
coma
old.
patients choose between good and bad?
No.
So coma patients don't have free will. Can fetuses?
Well,
choose
actually,
between good
no.
and bad?
Actually, I'm lying. Everyone has free will because once you pass away within our view, within our eyes, because I'm Catholic. Don't forget, I'm not your non-denominational Christian.
Wait, do you have free will in heaven?
We believe. We believe after you die, you go into purgatory, and that is your choice. That is the
All right,
free
all
will.
right,
That is the ultimate
listen.
free will. The choice to follow God or the choice to turn away from God.
Listen,
So
if you're
yes,
just going to say that
every
God doesn't
human
have free
has
will, that's fine.
Dean.
Hey,
Every human has free will.
platform. If you want to say that God doesn't have free will, like, I actually kind of accept that too. I think that that's a reduction of the Christian worldview that a lot of Christians disregard and don't want to.
Great. So let's stick to my idea of it then. What was so hard about the fact that I had this different idea than other Christians and you couldn't handle it?
Well, it just makes you look absurd. I'm just surprised you think
Dean,
that.
you think I care about looking absurd at this point?
Yeah, because it means that God necessarily created. God had to create us.
Well, he created, so maybe he necessarily had to create us. Why
Yeah,
not?
but this shows that God didn't desire to create us. God had to create us. God
Well,
didn't
maybe-
choose to create us. He had
We don't
to
know.
create
That's
us.
not an answer that I have. or
Kate,
you.
I appreciate you for the $10 on Venmo. I appreciate you for the
whether it
love.
was a desire or
Kate,
whether-
shut up! I'm thinking, Kate.
No, whether
Kate,
it was
thank
a
you for the
desire or
$10 on Venmo. Kate Kate in the comment section. Thank you for the $10 on Venmo. Here's the point. No, you do know this. You said God doesn't have free will. Everything that God does is against his will because God doesn't have a will. God had to create us against his will. But I want to ask you a question about starvation. So every year, 3.1 million children starve to death annually, right? And I think that this is unnecessary harm, right?
Mhm.
And here's my particular point. I think God is causing this unnecessary harm. He's
I know
partially
what you
responsible
do.
for it. And because God is partially responsible for it, I'd say that this is something bad that God is doing. We could also put this in the context of earthquakes or other natural disasters.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought this up. I had this long debate with Ian about this. So I'm going to ask you, Dean, when your mother decided to give birth to you and she understood that you were going to die one day, was it your mom's fault of your death on how you died, no matter how you died, whether it was a traumatic accident or you just naturally died? Was it partially your mother's fault for bringing you into this world?
It'd partially be her fault if she caused my death.
Wait,
and that's
but God's not causing the death. He's just causing the earthquake.
That's
This
where
is
we
the
disagree.
problem.
There's where we disagree.
Well, wait,
is God
but
all knowing?
answer my analogy. Your mom brought you into this earth knowing you will die one day. Is your mom the cause of your death?
We don't have enough information to determine if my mom's the cause of it.
No.
If I died,
You died naturally.
No.
Why? Why is she not the cause of your death? This is what you're doing to God.
Yeah,
You're
because
saying God caused the creation.
cause an action in which led to my death. But
Wait,
see,
so
here's
since
the thing,
God
though.
created earthquakes, and sometimes earthquakes kill others, it's God's responsibility for that?
Yeah, because he's all-knowing.
False.
He knew what the outcome was, and there exists a possible world in which earthquakes don't exist. Like, for instance, right, let's go ahead and look at it this way. The U.S. created nuclear weapons and dropped them on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So would you say because they created them and dropped them on Hiroshima and Nagasaki that they caused the 300,000 deaths that occurred because of that? Fuck yeah, we would.
Wait, so you're saying-
God created earthquakes when God couldn't have created earthquakes, and God's all-knowing, so he knew that in creating earthquakes, like 60,000 people a year would die because of them, when this was unnecessary because there exists a possible world in which it didn't occur. God would be partially responsible for this. Let me give you an analogy here. Let's imagine I'm a patient.
Hold on, let me
Let's
respond.
imagine okay. I mean, I was going to give you an analogy to make it
You
clear,
just
but go
did.
for
You
it.
just did. You just brought up Hiroshima. You brought up the U.S. dropping bombs on Hiroshima. You said the U.S. is responsible. Why is God not responsible in that situation?
Actually, I would say God's partially responsible here.
Interesting. That's what's crazy, Dean. So now you're putting responsibility on two parties.
Exactly.
So
yes. So if yes, we can put
So is your
responsibility
mom
on two parties.
responsible for
1
your
second.
death?
Yes, we can put responsibility on two parties. If I'm a child and I have a mom and a dad that both abuse and neglect me, well, then both my mom and my dad are going to be partially
Wait,
responsible
what if your
for my
mom
abuse
and dad
neglect.
never neglected you, but they knew you were going to die? Every human dies. So is your mom and dad partially responsible for your death, considering the fact that they put you into this earth knowing that one day you would die?
No, because it's not the simple knowledge
Yes,
of my
it
death
is,
in which
Dean.
causes.
This is the flaw. This is a contradiction within your
No,
own
it's not a
worldview.
contradiction because it's not the fact that God has knowledge of our deaths that makes him causally responsible for it. It's the fact that God has knowledge of our deaths and could have prevented our deaths that makes God causally responsible for it. And I will give you an analogy to show how this is true in the context of my mom. So let's just say my mom put me in a room with a loaded pew-pew.
Wait,
when
why
she
don't
could have
you
put me in a
talk
room
about
without
mine?
I am. Yeah, we're going to talk about my mom and
let's
me.
go
and we're gonna-
mine, and then we can go yours, Dean, because this is what you like to do.
Wait, your
You like to
analogy isn't
steamroll.
analogous.
No, it is very analogous because you're
No,
saying
it's because
that-
wait, I have a question. In this analogy, could my mom have prevented my death?
Yes, she didn't need to get pregnant.
No.
Yeah, no,
given
right,
the point
right.
that
She
I was
didn't need to
alive,
get
could my mom have
pregnant. She didn't
prevented my
need to
death?
do the deed.
I mean, that would have prevented my birth.
Right, exactly. So then nothing would have, you never would have died. So she's the cause of your death. Technically, if you want to say that since God put us on
No,
this
I'll-
earth,
I'll give
and
you an
since some
example.
people die in
Could
unfortunate
my mom have
ways,
prevented
you're
my
saying
natural
it's
death?
God. That's just false. It's a contradiction within your own analogies and your
So
own
I'm gonna-
worldview.
No, the reason that this isn't particularly analogous is because my mom could have prevented my death by not getting pregnant. However, this wouldn't be her directly preventing the unnecessary harm caused by my death, right? And this would be causing more unnecessary harm due to to the fact that I wouldn't be able to experience the good of life.
Sure,
right?
I have
like
another
for
question
like
for you.
and you accept this. This isn't something that you reject. You think that it was good for God to create, and that's why God created. And you'd also say that the reason it was good for God to create is for human flourishment. So similarly, we'd say it would be good for
Wait,
my
I never
mom to have
said that.
pregnancy.
Wait, what do you mean for human flourishment? Who
Human
said
flourishment
that?
and relationship with God. That's the
Wait,
entire
who
premise
said
of
that?
Christianity.
Who said you're putting words into Christian's mouth because this
Glorification
is
of God through human flourishment.
What is the question? Ask. There's two different statements you just made.
Exactly. See, that's what the fuck I mean. Get dumped on, right? Here's the point. I have a question. So let's say I have a mother, and my mom has my mom. I'm not running again. We are putting this in context of the analogy to show partial responsibility. Don't just say I'm running when I fucking own you. You are self-centered and you can't engage in my argument. And just because you can't engage in my argument doesn't mean that I'm running, but it rather just means I'm running fucking laps on you, intellectually dunking on you. So here's the analogy. I have a mother. So there's two rooms that my mother could put me in. The first room has a loaded pew that she knows I'll unalive myself with, and the second room does not have a loaded pew, so I can't unalive myself. If my mother were to put me in the room with a loaded pew, and I did unalive myself, would she be partially responsible?
Yes, she would be responsible.
Yes. So there's two possible worlds in which God could put us in. One where there's earthquakes, which he knows will unalive 60,000 people a year, and one in which there's not earthquakes that will prevent the unnecessary suffering of 60,000 people being unalived a year. If God were to put us in the world in which had the earthquakes that cause the unnecessary suffering, would God be responsible just like the mother putting the child in the room with a loaded pew?
So I'm going to ask you, is an earthquake a naturalistic event?
Yep. What causes these naturalistic events?
So naturalistic events, you're putting blame on God for naturalistic events. That's crazy.
Yep, because there's another world in which God could have created where these naturalistic events
It sounds
didn't.
like you're just a sad child that really just needs
platform,
Jesus
answer my
Christ
question.
in his life.
Is there another
It sounds
possible
like
world?
you just really are lost and you don't really understand.
Yeah. Oh, look at the meta conversation. I ate you up and he's whining. Let's get some baby bottles in the chat. Let's get some baby bottles in the chat.
Dean, you're mad. Dean, you're mad. Dean, you're.
I'm the one that's mad. You're running away from the argument. So yes, I am putting partial responsibility onto God because of these things. Let me ask you a follow-up question. Could God have created a world in which did not include earthquakes? Yes or no?
Oh.
No, wait, so God couldn't have created a world in which didn't include earthquakes? Why?
Yes, he could have. He can do whatever he wants, but no, he didn't. But
so he could have created a world in which did not include this unnecessary suffering. So God chose the unnecessary suffering, just like the parent that put their child in the loaded room with the pew chose the unnecessary suffering of their child unaliving themselves with a gun when they could have prevented it by putting them in the room without the loaded pew. So in the same way the parent did something wrong and the parent's partially responsible, God did something wrong and God's partially responsible.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a
unless you would
question.
say all things considered, the earthquakes should
I'm going to ask
happen.
you a question.
Go for it, Platty.
So we've determined that since your mom gave birth to you, she's responsible for your death. Now I'm going to ask you.
No, we haven't determined that.
No, that's what we've determined. So now I'm going to ask you, if your mom gave birth to you and she sees that you're now
What do you mean by
26
responsible?
years old and you're an alcoholic, is your mom responsible for your alcoholism as well?
Wait, we haven't even touched on that first point yet. What do you mean? What do you, we have not determined that first point. So what do you mean by responsible? Do you mean caused?
She caused. We've already established she's caused your death. So now I'm asking.
But we need to look at these two.
The alcohol scenario. No,
so no, platform. Stop running away. I'm actually going to respond to this in Duncan.
No, you won't.
So yes, that's what I'm going to do right now. So we need to look at two different types of responsibilities or like causal relationships. So we can have like justified causal relationships in the context of my mother causing my death because her engaging in intercourse and giving birth was necessary for my death, and like negligent responsibilities, such as my mom putting me in a room with a loaded pew. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's like we can look at like another analogy of this. So think about.
Hold on. Let me respond to that because I
you
I
do
can agree with those 2 points.
I could put this in something that's a little bit
your
more
opinion
intuitive.
on the negligent and the logical. There's two different ones. I can take that. We can work with that.
Yeah, and I just want to put it in an analogy to show that it's more clear. Think of it this way,
dude.
right?
I know your analogies. I get your.
Wait, but I want to use a better one to wrap it around to God.
I don't think your
clear.
audience understands all these analogies you give.
I know. I'm going to make a very clear analogy to wrap it around to God to make my point clear. Please allow me to do so. So we could say that like the people that built the plane, right? The plane mechanics that built the plane that ended up going into one of the two twin towers on 9/11 caused 9/11 in the sense that if they didn't build those planes, 9/11 wouldn't have occurred in the way that it did. But we could also say that, well, like the intentful actors on the planes that overtook.
Go ahead.
Bro, so you're just denying 9/11 now?
Keep going.
Okay, so you interrupted me, so I'm just gonna go ahead and repeat it. So it's like
you talked for 5 minutes, dog.
no, I haven't. I'm giving you an analogy. All right, platform. I'm giving
He's
you an
kicking
analogy.
you guys.
No, I'm not. What the fuck? I mean, do you just like not want to engage in conversation?
I'm waiting. I just needed to let you all know that 9/11's fake. Go ahead.
You're so delusional. So
Oh,
yeah,
no.
so
no.
here's my point, right? So I'm a doctor and you're my patient, and you come in to get the corona vaccine, and I could give you a corona vaccine that makes you
fake.
immune to COVID,
Go ahead.
or I could give you a corona vaccine that makes you immune to COVID and causes you a little bit of back pain. Would I be doing something wrong if I gave you the vaccine that also caused you a little bit of back pain because I caused you unnecessary suffering?
No.
Okay, you're deluded.
No, I'm not deluded. I genuinely don't think so because we learn as Christians that sometimes suffering is necessary for salvation. This is a very simple.
Well, then it
practice.
just wouldn't be unnecessary.
This is very like known within the Christian beliefs.
Yeah,
we suffer, we
that's fine.
sacrifice for the Lord.
Yeah,
So
I'll give
no,
this.
it's not wrong.
Hey, platform. I'll give this point to you right in the context of necessary suffering. I'm particularly giving you an analogy that's only talking about unnecessary suffering. So in the analogy,
What would be considered unnecessary? What would be considered unnecessary?
Suffering that wasn't necessary for any greater end goal. Something that's all things considered on something that all things considered shouldn't have
It's going
occurred.
to be analogous to God because there's a greater end goal, Dean. You're throwing yourself into a pit of nothing.
No, that is a legitimate out that you could take here.
I'm so dead, dog. You don't even know what you're saying.
No, platform. That's a legitimate out that you could take here. You could say that earthquakes are necessary, children starving is necessary, but this all just reduces down to the conclusion that all things considered, 3.1 million children should starve to death every year because it's for some greater good, and all things considered, 60,000 people a year should die from earthquakes because it's for a greater good.
Why do you have to say should when it comes to these situations? When I say,
I mean, do you think it should or shouldn't occur, man?
or no, what was the other word you used? You didn't use should, you used something else. When I sit there and say I'm suffering or I'm starving myself or fasting for the Lord and I'm going through a bit of suffering, I have the choice to do those things, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so these children that are starving, did somebody have a choice to feed these children or not feed them?
Probably.
So they made a decision not to feed these kids. So why are you putting the blame on the creator and the all good, don't forget it, good, G-O-O-D, good God, who's done nothing wrong and can only be good? Why are you putting the blame on him when you just said that somebody caused the suffering of these children?
Yeah,
Somebody, some man caused the suffering of these children by not feeding them.
Yeah, so I put partial responsibility onto God because God knew that this would.
You need to do that. I know you do. You're such an atheist.
So would you let me respond to your question?
Yeah, you're just such an atheist. It's hilarious.
So I put partial responsibility onto God because God knew that this would occur and God could have prevented this from occurring without infringing upon free will. So, I mean, just imagine this. We have a parent that How? I'll tell you. Right, by designing our biological systems in such a way as to where we were not reliant on food to survive.
Wait, but then God wouldn't. But God made everything perfect. So why are you trying to change His perfection?
Are you saying that all things considered, 3.1 million children starving to death is perfect since God made it so they could starve to death? Yeah, see what I mean? You don't
That's
say
free
that.
will. That's free will. You're asking two different questions, bro. This is the problem with you atheists. You ask two different questions and try to make them analogous.
Yeah, so would you say all things considered, our ability to starve to death is perfect?
I said God is perfect. Did I? Okay, great. God's perfect. His creation is perfect. That does not mean man is perfect.
That's not the question that I asked you. All
That does
things
not mean
considered.
just because A plus B
Hey,
equals
platform.
C does
All
not
things
mean A plus
considered,
B
is our
equals C.
ability to starve to death perfect?
Just because A plus B equals C does not mean A plus B.
I'm
equals
asking you a
Z.
question. All things considered, is man's ability to starve to death perfect?
What does that even mean? What kind of question is that?
It's a question that I'd like you to respond because it's directly important.
What
for
is
our
what is the
conversation.
definition of perfect, dog?
Flawless?
Flawless. So you're asking a question, a moral question, and saying, is it perfect? That's the question you're asking?
Yeah, perfection is not a normative question. It's a descriptive one.
How could you put perfection on a moral?
We're not.
question? Don't
I'm
get it.
asking you a descriptive question, not a moral question.
So you're saying starving is perfect?
No, that's what you're saying. You said a perfect creator creates
You're
perfection.
asking
God
questions.
created our ability to starve to death. So therefore you think a human's ability to starve to death is perfect.
Wait, but did God also create the ability for our brains to recognize when we're starving?
Yep. You can say that's perfect too.
Did God also give us the ability?
Chat, why doesn't you want to answer my question?
When we're full?
Yo, chat, can we get some more baby bottles? Because you just simply won't answer my question. I'll go ahead and repeat it.
You're so weird,
Is man's
bro.
ability
You're
to starve
weird,
to death
bro.
perfect?
You're weird, bro. You're
No,
really
I'm just
weird.
like smarter than you. Like I've asked you this
Dean,
question like 7, 8, 9
let's go through
times
an
now.
IQ test. I'll ask you
No,
questions.
platform. Can you? So platform. Can you answer my question?
Wait, I'll ask you questions.
So we are now seeing that platform is completely pivoting away from our debate on God, but would rather instead like want to engage in an IQ test with me for some trivial reason because I've dunked on him. Let's just get some baby bottles going in that chat. And Becca, thank you so much for the $6.66 on Venmo. W666 and W Becca in the chat. Platform, how do you feel about Becca sending me $6.66?
And now may Peter's Philly Spirits he's saying.
Whoa, it's making him speak in tongues. Yo, W Becca, W666, let's get it. Yo, it's literally making him speak in tongues.
Nah, may Peter's Philly Spirits.
Yo, keep him coming in.
This isn't
Keep him
tongues,
coming
dog.
in.
You don't even know what tongues
Angel,
are. You don't
thank
want
you
me
for
speaking
the
in
$6.66
You don't want me speaking
on
in
Venmo.
tongues.
W Angel, W666.
You don't want me speaking in
Maddie,
tongues.
thank you for the $6.66 on Venmo. W666, thank you. How do you feel about Angel, Maddie, and Sarah sending me $6.66 on Venmo? How do you feel about that, legitimately?
I love it because Michael the Archangel, he'll come. Don't worry.
Wait, Michael the Archangel's gonna
Michael the
smite them all?
Archangel will be our protector.
Yo, let's
against
go.
the wickedness
Yo,
and snares
Dino,
of the
thank you for
devil.
the $6.66.
You've heard about Michael,
on
haven't
Venmo.
you?
Let's get a W666.
Dean, have you heard about
W
Michael? Have you heard
I
about
know very
Michael?
little, but how do you feel about everyone sending me $6.60? Are you afraid of numbers, little bro?
Oh
Remember
no,
how-
I love.
remember how Andrew Tate was like, "Are you
numbers.
afraid of some
we
bubbles?"
love numbers. We love numbers, Dean. Don't get it twisted.
Are
We
you ready to
love
answer my
numbers.
question about
We
Christian?
love numbers. I'm gonna ask you a question. How do you feel about Michael visiting you tonight?
Wait, a strange man is gonna show up in my bedroom
How about all the
night?
people that are sending 666? How do they feel about Michael?
all the people that are sending me $6.66 on Venmo. Alexis, thank you for the $6.66 on Venmo. W Alexis in the chat. Wait, Alexis says Michael's gonna come.
Can you answer my question?
Wait,
How do you feel about Michael the
Alexis asked if
Archangel?
Michael is gonna come.
How do you feel about Michael the Archangel?
How do I feel about like a figment of your imagination, a delusion, perhaps?
Wait, Dean, have you read our Bible?
Parts of it.
Do you know who Michael is?
I'm no.
You don't. Interesting. So you know so much about the Christian faith, but you don't even know about our archangels, huh?
I know the name. I don't know anything about who he's supposed to be.
Who he's supposed to be.
Jessica, thank you for the $6.66 on Venmo.
Michael the
Jessica
Archangel,
says
be
you
our
need the
protector
666.
against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him. I humbly pray.
I literally destroyed platform so hard he started speaking in tongues and praying to an archangel. Let's get some W fucking Deans in that chat. Garrett, thank you for the $6.66 on Venmo. Garrett says, "Come to me, Michael." That's funny. What's going on, Sage? Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
Do I think a lesbian's being wrong? I have one question, actually.
Good Lord. Okay, go.
Yeah. No, I'm really interested because I just want to know how, on your worldview, something can be right or wrong in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, well, I uphold like some normative theory of like duties. Like we have duties to do certain things. I don't say this is relevant to the question I'm asking you though, because I'm asking you if internally, given your worldview, however you think rightness and wrongness works, do you think being lesbian is wrong?
Well, how does it not have anything to do with the question? Because I'm asking if you're asking me how it's wrong.
Because you think that because you yield rightness and wrongness differently than I do, right? Alexia, thank you for the $6.66 on Venmo. I appreciate you for the love. Because obviously, given like my framework of how I determine what's right and wrong, which would be like Rossian like threshold deontology. Right, basically determining rightness and wrongness in accordance or disaccordance with like particular duties or virtues. Well, obviously being lesbian is not wrong. And when I'm asking you the question, if you find it wrong, this means I'm asking in accordance with how you think we yield those rights and wrongs. Danielle, thank you for the $6.66 on Venmo.
So
I appreciate you for the love.
I don't know if it really
W Danielle, I appreciate you.
Because what I'm asking is what is so I'm just saying elaborate on what you're saying, right? So you're saying that
you could look it up.
Right and wrong has to do with your duties.
So you could, yeah, I mean, I just recommend you look up like threshold deontology and Rossian pluralism, particularly like Ross's theory of rights in the context of prima facie duties. That's my normative theory of ethics. I don't really feel like going into the like intricacies of it, but you could there's a lot of research you could do on it if you want to. It's an interesting theory of ethics.
Okay, I just don't even know if it's even worth it to engage with the question if you can't give an account for what's right and what's wrong.
I just did give an account. I told you I'm a threshold deontologist.
You gave the title of a definition, so I just don't know if it's helpful for anyone here.
So I told you I'm a threshold deontologist. I told you that I believe in Ross. So this means that I think some rights are absolute in the sense that they're deontic. Like we have to uphold these particular duties of like respecting individuals' right to lives. But in other senses, we could determine rightness and wrongness because of the consequences in which they'd yield. So this would just be the differentiation between deontic theories of rights and utilitarian theories of rights. And essentially, threshold deontology will kind of mix the two together. Right.
Okay.
And that's what I hold to. But can you answer my question? Do you think being lesbian?
So you're saying that if you do an action, right?
Sage, with all due respect, I love talking about this shit a lot. I'm a philosophy student with an emphasis on ethics. I love this shit, but this is not the reason why I went live today to talk about like my normative framework of ethics. I'm asking you if you think being lesbian is wrong. This is the last time I'm going to ask you the question before I move on to the next guest. But I do want you to go ahead and have your chance to answer. So go and answer. Dizzy, thank you for the hearts. But like I said, I love talking about like theories of ethics. If you want to join my Discord, the link's in my bio and we could have more like conversation about them over there. But go ahead and unmute your mic, sir. Click on your profile picture and click the icon of the mic. Okay. Sage left. I don't know what Sage was doing. We're going to move on to our next guest, y'all. If we are in the guest request, make sure that we do think being a lesbian is wrong. We are just looking for some debates here today. I think that he came up here just to be a dick, and he thought that I wouldn't actually be able to like go over that, but little did he.
Yo, hello?
Student. How old are you?
I'm 18.
Yeah, no, fat fucking shot, buddy. I think he came up here to be a dick, and he didn't expect me to be able to answer the question that he gave me. But little did he know I'm a student in philosophy. Like that's like my entire degree. Moving on to our next guest here, everyone. Just give us a moment. In the meantime, guys, make sure that we're double tapping on those phone screens. Make sure that we're showing out that live to a couple of friends. We are just looking for debate. Yeah, that boy was 13 max. That boy was 13 max, y'all. So let's go and get our next guest up in here, y'all. What's going on, Ro? How old are you? Hi, Ro. Do you speak? No, Ro doesn't speak. Moving on to our next guest here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and get Carlos up here. Everyone, just allow us a moment. Just allow us a moment. All right, they didn't load in. Moving on to our next individual here, guys. Also, make sure to hit the follow button. This is my new account. Y'all, if this button right here is red, make sure to light that shit up. Make it go white. If you've seen me before, you probably don't follow this account. It's a new account, y'all. Let's go to move on to our next guest here, everyone. Just give us a moment. Just give us a moment.
Hey, motherfucker.
How old are you?
Nigga, you fucking nigga.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to our next guest. Let's go ahead and see what Brittany has to say. Why do they always start slurring? All the fetuses just start slurring. Just give us a moment. Hi, Brittany. How old are you?
Every time. Because we got laid up all day, right?
Okay, well, I heard like 3 fetuses in the background. I heard the TV going. I'm pretty sure I heard a dog woofing in the background too. There's just a lot of noise there. A lot of noise there. Hi, how old are you, Pamela?
66.
Oh, wonderful. Do you think being a lesbian is wrong?
I do.
Oh, why?
Well, first of all, I'm a Christian, so I go by the Bible. I live for the Lord.
Sorry. Sorry. Continue.
But that's my reason. It's not meant to be. It's not meant to be.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Can you name one verse in the Christian Bible that tells us being a lesbian is wrong?
It doesn't say me. It says a woman does not lay down with a woman.
Yeah,
A
well,
man
there's
does not lay down with a man.
Okay, so the verse that
Right.
says that, so yeah, you are right. That's a verse, and that's Leviticus 18:22. But here's the big problem with telling us that the book of Leviticus is accurate in descriptions of what's morally right and wrong. Because just like the book of Leviticus says being a lesbian is wrong, it also says that chattel slavery is okay. In Leviticus 25 verses 44 through 46, God tells Moses that the Israelites may buy slaves from the neighboring countries and own them as property for life. So, I mean, if you're going to accept Leviticus 18 when it says being a lesbian is wrong, are you going to accept Leviticus 25 where it says chattel slavery is okay?
All I know is this. It's either eternal life or burning in hell. And I'm going to choose eternal life.
And I'm going to choose to move on to the next guest if you don't answer my question, period. You cited Leviticus 18 in your determination that being lesbian is wrong. Do you also hold to Leviticus 25 where it says chattel slavery, i.e. humans owning other humans as property for life, is okay?
In that time frame, they thought it was okay. That's why it was written. Today,
God told him it was okay.
Not accepted, nor do they accept it.
Wait, does God's moral law change?
Well, that's the Old Testament.
Does God's moral law change?
I feel like yours does. From the time you were 10 to the now, yours has changed.
Does God's moral law change, ma'am?
Why wouldn't his change?
Wait, so God can be wrong about things?
It seems to be that way.
Wow. Okay, well, if you think it seems to be the way that God can be wrong about things, we're going to move on to our next guest, y'all. If we are in this guest request, make sure that we do think being a lesbian is wrong. What's up? How old are you? Okay, so isn't that like slightly embarrassing? All right, moving on to our next individual here. Yeah, we had to put her to bed. She was a bit it was past her bedtime, ladies and gentlemen. It was past her bedtime. If anyone wants to support me, my Venmo, my PayPal are in my bio. Y'all can get a notification. Hi, how old are you?
I am
like what?
18?
Nah,
18?
16 max. Come on.
No.
16. Let me ask you another question. What year of high school are you in?
College.
Yeah, okay. Absolute cap. Moving on to our next guest. Let's go ahead and see what our next guest has to say, y'all. Jesus, y'all, these guests are crazy. Yeah, he about busted out laughing when he said that. Also, guys, I gotta go pee here soon, so I may pull up a friend to debate just for a little bit while I go pee, but we'll see about that. College, be so for real. Be so for real. Yeah, the cackle with that as well. All right, let's go and get our next guest up in here. Let's go and talk to Parker. Hello, Parker. How old are you?
14.
Yeah, your mother just finished doing your laundry and folding your clothes. I suggest you get those off of, out of the laundry room before she screams at you. Hi, how old are you?
18.
18, what year were you born in? What year were you born in?
Why?
Because
can you figure that
18.
out? Can you not figure that out? I've just said I'm 18.
Can you fucking not figure it out? Is that why you're asking me? You want me to do the math for you?
Why are you asking?
What month?
2006, mate.
Okay, what?
September 23rd.
Do you think being a lesbian is wrong? Mate.
No.
Oh, God. Well, you came up here with the attitude and the incompetence, so I thought that you may think that. Yeah, also, September 2006 is not 18. That'd be 17. I just wanted to let it slide because I thought she may be a fun convo. Hi, how old are you?
Hi.
Good Lord, there's so much going on there. That is interdimensional cable. Moving on to our next guest. Y'all, I really need to pull up a friend here to debate for me a little bit. I really got to go pee, y'all. Hi, how old are you?
43.
43, nice. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
Yes.
Okay, why so?
Well, actually, I don't know. I don't really know.
So,
okay, be honest with you. I have a kid. I have a boy, and I believe my boy is gay.
Okay, well, hey, you can't say that word on TikTok. They'll end my live for it, so unfortunately I have to kick you. But hey, man, honestly, re-request because I would love to talk to you about the fact that you hold prejudice against your son and how harmful that is and how you could overcome that because I don't want your son to grow up in a family where he's persecuted or belittled for that. Hi, how old are you?
Yeah, I'm born in 2005.
Okay, so you didn't give me your age. I'm guessing that you're minor. We're gonna move on to our next guest. Let's move on to Jenna Bear, y'all. Poor kid, bro. Fucking for real. Hi, how old are you?
33.
80? 80?
33. 33.
Oh, 33. Okay, do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
Well, yes.
Okay, Jenna, that's embarrassing. Have you considered the fact that that may or may not be embarrassing?
I'm mocked for my belief in God and what he entitles to this world a lot. So yeah, you can say that.
Oh, good Lord. So I'm being harsh on you for the fact that you want to strip people of their human rights, but it's just me mocking you for your belief in God. Okay, let me just go out and ask you the kicker. So what verse in the Christian Bible tells us that being a lesbian is wrong?
Romans 1:26 through 27, Jude 1:7, Leviticus 20:13, Genesis 2:24, Mark 10:6 through 9, 1 Timothy 1:8 through 11, 1 Corinthians 7:2, 2 Corinthians 5.
Jude and Mark don't talk about it, but I'm loving this. I
I'll read
actually
this
fuck
one,
with this.
Romans
I
1:26
actually
through
fuck with this. I'm
28.
not gonna lie. You
For
know
this-
what? We have a prepared Christian.
Okay,
Hell yeah.
ready? For this reason, God gave them up to dishonorable.
Wait, actually, don't read it out loud because you might get my live taken down for the.
Oh no,
for
it
the-
doesn't say anything. It doesn't say the G word.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. It won't get you. I know what you mean, and I'll respect that. For this reason, God gave them up to dishonorable passions, for their women exchanged natural relations for those that are contrary to nature, and men likewise gave up natural relations with women, and were consumed with passion for one another, men committing acts with men and receiving in themselves the due penalty for their error. And since they did, okay, there you go.
In some sense, chat, I think we can all agree that a Christian that actually knows their Bible, did the research, and knows the scripture to justify their claims is much better than a Christian who doesn't. So we will at least give her some credence for that. I won't
thank
lie.
you, and I respect you,
Eating
bro.
to a
I
minimal
respect you.
regard.
I respect you, and I love everybody, but I still hold fast to my beliefs. But I'll never be mean to someone who.
I'm fucking hyped for this convo. All right, hey, Jenna, I'm gonna go ahead and go to the restroom real quick. It's gonna take me 30 seconds.
Okay,
Chat,
I
just
get
stay
you.
here. This is
I
gonna be a
will
good
wait.
convo.
I got you.
Okay, don't say anything that will get my live taken down. I'll
I'm
be
not.
right back.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not like that. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you, but I'm going to respect his wishes and remain silent till he gets back.
All right, I'm back.
Here, I'm just waiting because I don't want to say anything. So
Perfect. So here's the gist. So you're essentially saying that being a lesbian is wrong because of your belief in the Christian God, and the scripture dictates that it is wrong. So prove to me that the Christian God exists, Jenna.
Well, the Christian God exists because he made everything. If you have like biblical knowledge, you know I know the Bible, but like let me give you something scientific that you know. Every time it rains, like there's a rainbow, right? I was just watering my yard yesterday and there was a rainbow. And then when you go to the Bible, like the rainbow story fits the flood. And this was written thousands of years ago.
Wait, do you think that there wasn't rainbows thousands of years ago?
No, but what I'm saying is the fact that it relates to water and it's directly linked to water and God's promise came after the water. And
Wait,
the fact,
but this doesn't show that like the story, like the account of rainbows in the Bible would grant credence towards the Christian God existing. Like for instance, in the context of like Greek mythology, right? Poseidon is an explanation of tides. Zeus is an explanation of thunder. And Hercules is probably an explanation of something else. They all got their own thing.
Okay, I'll
But
try
what do you
something
say?
else.
Would you say the fact what do you say the fact that thunder exists grants credence towards Zeus existing because Zeus is an explanation for it occurring?
Okay, fair point. Let me keep trying something else. All right.
Go for it.
So, in the Bible, have you ever read the Bible or no?
Yeah, I've read bits and pieces of it.
Okay, so you know how God talks about a Christian, he relates people a lot to trees, and Jesus says that a tree is known by its fruit. For example, you'll know if someone really has Jesus if they have good fruit is our works. So if you look at the inward parts of us and you look at our bronchial, like that holds our lungs in, it's actually, you can Google this in science, it's like a tree. And it's very similar to how God literally tells us that he'll cut us off like a tree or whatever. And our genetic makeup, how we breathe and everything is like a tree. And then if you look at our fingerprints are like roots, and no two roots are the same. Like same thing with our fingerprints.
That's a reach, Jenna.
Well, when
I'm
you
not gonna
cut
lie.
a tree and you look at the rings, it's the same as our fingerprints.
No, it's not.
I'm telling you, look science.
Here, listen. Let me ask you a question about God. I'm not gonna say that's a little bit of a reach. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
said roots. I meant the rings. Rings.
Okay.
Sorry.
Still a reach, but that's the only critique I have of that argument. I'll just say you're reaching. But let me tell you why I don't think the Christian God exists.
Okay.
So every single year, 3.1 million children starve to death. Right? And it seems as if this is very unnecessary because if God were to exist, he could have designed our biological systems to function in such a way where if we did not eat, we didn't starve to death, preventing those 3.1 million child deaths. And because God is all good and we would only expect God to do good things, the good thing would have to been to design our biological systems in such this manner. But because there exists this unnecessary suffering, we would say God is partially responsible and negligent in causing this. So it is not the case that God could be all good unless you would say it is good that the children starve to death.
So I totally, and I'm not just saying this, I understand where you're coming from. You're basically saying, well, if God is good, why can't he stop evil? Why can't he stop, all the bad things that happen to children? That is a very valid point, right? And I've asked all those same questions to God. I've had those same questions and I felt like it was unfair as well, even as a Christian who follows him. But what I want to ask you this, are you atheist? I'm assuming you're atheist.
No, I'm an agnostic.
So does that mean like you're open, but you're not sure?
I'm not open to the Christian God existing because I don't think we could rationalize the Christian God. And I think that there's a lot of issues with the Christian God.
Okay.
A quick summation, I don't think that the Christian God could have created due to the fact that he existed in a perfect state of affairs and nothing is more desirable than perfection. If an all good God were to exist, then goodness would be this God's primary motivation in their decision-making process in the context of what they'd allow and not allow, which would essentially make you concede that everything that God allows is all things considered good. And since God allows child rape, SA, predatory attraction, slavery, the Holocaust, etc., you'd have to say those things are all good in turn. But particularly the reason we're honing in on right now is if unnecessary suffering exists in this world that God could have prevented, God would be doing something wrong by allowing it. In the same way, if I was your doctor and you were my patient and you came to me and asked for a corona vaccination and I had two options, I had a corona vaccination that made you immune, and I had a corona vaccination that made you immune but caused you a little bit of back pain, I'd be doing something wrong by giving you the second vaccination because it wasn't necessary for me to cause you that back pain to make you immune. In the same way, if God has two possible worlds, one possible world where 3.1 million children starve to death a year, and one possible world where 3.1 million children don't starve to death a year, God would be doing something wrong by actualizing the world in which the 3.1 million children starve to death a year. But
True.
we could just kind of hone in on that issue, but go ahead.
If the Christian God did exist, I have a couple questions to ask you, and I'm curious to hear your answer, but I want to say this. If the Christian God exists, then that means that this life is actually not all that's it. Which means we don't just live to wake up, eat, work 40 hours, have the government steal our money, to pay taxes, live a miserable life. There's something greater than all of us here. There's something called perfection where there'll be no more cancer, no more sickness, no more pain. And the life that's after this is actually where our life starts. So when you have the mentality that this life is all it's it, all there is, of course suffering is going to seem crazy, because then there's no justice. That person never got their justice for that person that did that wrong. We're working, we're having our money stolen. I mean, our taxes are we have all these rich people in the world who are living off the poor, and there's just a lot of injustice in the world, and there's a lot of people who go on, who do things and they don't go to prison, like a lot of famous athletes. And I'm not going to say anything to get your land, but you know where I'm going with this, where because they have a lot of money, they're not punished. And if there was no God, then the evil would never face the wrath of God, in which they will actually have to face him. And there's a lot that's done in secret that a lot of people don't know, right? So if you have that mentality, that suffering, like a kid with, if a kid had cancer and he was suffering, right, and he died, and he immediately goes to the Father and lives in paradise.
Do you mind if I ask you a question?
He suffered a year or so, but he gets to live eternity in bliss and happiness. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, you're essentially saying that all things considered, our time here on Earth is very trivial and meaningless, correct?
Yeah, and if you
so all things considered, it's trivial and meaningless that 3.1 million children starve to death a year. All things considered, it's trivial and meaningless that 12 million people were persecuted and unalived in the Holocaust and concentration camps. All things considered, like child rape, pedophilia, and the child sex trade is trivial and meaningless. So we shouldn't do anything about these things?
No, I believe God does do things about these things, and just because we can't see it doesn't mean we don't know. Like, these people who did the Holocaust are going to suffer eternally in a fire. Yeah. So you think of that.
Here's a point I want to make clear. So
sure.
Every year, 3.1 million children die from starvation. God could have prevented this by designing our biological systems to function in a manner where if we did not eat, we did not die. If God designed our biological systems in that manner, this would prevent 3.1 million deaths a year, right? God didn't do this.
Well,
God is responsible for not doing this. So God did something bad.
Well, I believe
Rachel, thank you for the $5 on PayPal. I appreciate you for the love. Go ahead, Jenny.
I believe that all the suffering is a result of us not listening to God. So, for example, this whole live, why is being lesbian wrong? I don't believe it's a sin against.
Let's talk about it in the context of starvation. So are you saying that people starve to death because people digress from God's commandment, and some people some governments hoard the food?
I think God created us with free will, and some people unfortunately choose evil, and they choose to hurt people, and they
would it infringe upon our free will if God designed our biological systems to function in a manner where if we did not eat, we did not die?
Well, so are you aware of the Adam and Eve story in the Bible? Or no? Yeah. So basically, God made a garden, and everything was perfect, and he gave us everything, and then we sinned against him. So then sin entered the world through one man, and that's why he sent his son Jesus, because he loved us so much that he covered our mistakes with his son.
Okay. So you're essentially saying, well, the reason that these 3.1 million children starve to death a year isn't because of God, but it's rather because of human sin. So let me give you a hypothetical here, right?
What do you mean by starve? Because the Bible goes into detail that man
not
does
eating
not live
food and
by
dying.
bread alone, but by every word that comes out of the mouth of God. So
yeah, that part's irrelevant. Literally, people not having food and dying.
You can be rich and have a lot of money and be well fed and still be starved spiritually.
But we're not talking about that sense of starvation. We are literally talking about the physical sense of starvation, where people all across the globe don't eat food and die. 3.1 million children a year, to be precise.
Okay,
but let me go ahead and give you an analogy here.
What happens after death?
What happens after death is completely irrelevant to the unnecessary suffering they went through.
If you're saying they die, those who believe in Jesus never die, and that's a promise.
Okay, so are you saying it wasn't a bad thing that they starved to death then, because they didn't actually die?
What I'm saying is they have a future in heaven.
That's not what I'm asking. Was it bad? Wait, should or shouldn't have the children starve to death? Yes or no?
I don't think. Let me ask you this. Do you think that there should never be any suffering and everything should just be perfect all the time? And there's no.
I will be more than happy to answer your question after you answer mine.
Okay, so no, I do not think kids starving is a good thing. Absolutely.
So then why did God allow it?
So as a Christian, I cannot answer that. I don't know, but all I know is that there is a life after this life for those children, and that's something that I can't answer.
I think I know. So I think that we could actually logically deduce why an all good God would allow things. So if an all good God existed, well, their primary concern or motivation in what they'd allow or not allow would be goodness. They'd only allow things that all things considered increased good, and they would not allow things that would all things considered decrease good. Do you accept this concept? Because if you reject it, I can give you more reason that you
No,
should accept it.
I understand what you're saying and it's logical.
I want to ask
but
you if you accept or reject it. That's all.
accept.
Okay. So you accept the idea that if an all good God were to exist, they'd only allow things in which would all things considered increase goodness. So God allows these 3.1 million children to starve to death a year, and because he allows them, all things considered, this increased goodness, it was for some greater good. And another way to put that is, well, since it increased goodness, it should have happened. So you're saying that these children should have starved to death.
So are you aware that we also believe in God and Satan in the Christian faith, and that all things bad come from Satan and all things good come from God? You're aware of
Exactly. And under your worldview, all things good come from God, and God would only allow things that are all things considered good. Since God allows children to starve to death, children starving to death is all things considered good. This is a logical deduction of your claim, and it seems like we have reduced you down to saying that you think everything that has occurred was all things considered good and should have occurred out of virtue of the fact that God allowed it to occur. So
Well, can I ask you
another
another
thing we could
question
say,
to pick your
God
brain?
allows lesbians to exist. So the simple fact that lesbians exist mean that it's all things considered good for lesbians to exist.
Hey, I can tell you in which I know some lesbians who it was good that they were lesbians. I'm telling you, when they came to Christ, they were the ones who would talk to people about, I used to live that life, and they were non-judgmental and they were kind and compassionate towards those who lived that way, and they wanted to bring them to the faith, and they were testimonies, and God used it for good.
Yeah, with all due respect here, all right, like conversion therapy, changing, coming to God and being right, that's not true. But you're not engaging with my point here. And also live that way, that's not a thing, right? So being lesbian or being straight is like, being white or being black, or having blue eyes or green eyes, blonde
And
hair,
I
brown
understand
hair.
that that's your perspective and you're allowed to have that. But can I ask you?
It's not my, one second, ma'am.
Can I
This
ask you
isn't,
one question before we go? Just one.
but I'd like to justify that though.
Sure, you
because
can,
it's
but
not my perspective. That's,
I'll listen,
that's
but
scientific
can you
fact.
let me ask one question at the end, for sure.
Go for it.
I'll let you talk first, but I'm just saying, just let me ask one more question before you cut me off. So I'll let you finish what you were saying, but I just wanted to ask one more question.
Yeah, it's a scientific fact that like your sexual orientations aren't a lifestyle or a way that people chose to live. They're a biological fact of our nature. So the Netherlands Institute of Brain Research, the Center for Neurodoctrine Studies at the University of Pittsburgh in Massachusetts, and the Center for Neurochronology at UCLA have all done an immense amount of study on the neurobiology and overall anatomy of straight people in comparison to GAY or lesbian people, right? And what we see through the use of EEGs, EKGs, MRIs, and fMRIs is that there's different neuroanatomical brain structures in straight people and lesbian people. There's different associations on the genome between straight people and lesbian people. Like, you understand that our sexual orientations, who we are attracted to, right? This is all hard-coded into us starting at 8 weeks gestation with the activation or inactivation of the SRY gene. So when you imply that it's some type of lifestyle or choice or some way someone's living, no. It's
No, I
just
can
as
understand.
hard-coded
I
into our
can totally
anatomy as
understand
the
how that
fact
would
that my
make
eyes are
sense.
blue.
I understand that you feel like that's who you are and you don't want to be judged for it, and you feel like you're being judged just for who you are, and you feel like it's unfair because you're trying to just be happy and do what makes you happy, and you feel like people just can't accept that. No, I get that. I do get that. And even though we disagree with that, I can feel compassion towards that.
Bro, what do you have to disagree with? On what basis can you disagree with those
Well,
facts?
I won't say the G word, but I can tell you what my personal belief is. I believe that we all have desires. I believe that we are all prone to have certain desires. Like, for example, if I'm a woman, but I could totally look at a girl and be like, she's hot. I think she's beautiful. I want to lay with her. Like, I might have those feelings.
Yeah. Holy shit. Yeah, you're in the fucking closet, and I feel so bad for you because you've been brainwashed by a fake religion.
No, what I'm saying is we
Damn.
can act on what we want anytime.
Yeah, Jenna, I don't desire to lie with people of my same gender. I'm straight. That is something I don't desire. It's something I never will desire. Right? We understand that not everyone has those.
Well, I don't have that desire, but I'm saying I know people who do. But every desire, do you believe you should act out
What
on
did you say
every
10 seconds
desire?
ago?
Do you believe that you should act out on every single desire?
Nope.
Well,
I only believe that you should act out on your desires in which don't harm, hurt, or affect anyone else in a negative way or lead towards some greater good. Now, please tell me how acting out upon these lesbian attractions, right, harm, hurts, or affects anyone else. Because as far as I'm concerned, they only promote love.
I don't
we see
believe-
we see the lowest STI or STD transmission rate in the context of two women. So if anything, it's keeping people safer. We see that overall, right, monogamous relationships, regardless of your sexual orientation, man with woman, woman with woman, lead towards a longer life in general and promote an overall better well-being. We also see that there's no like negative outcomes associated with two people of the same sex raising kids in comparison to two people of the opposite sex. So what are the negative repercussions of engaging
There's
in
not really
lesbian
any
intercourse?
negative repercussions of that. There's not like when we're thinking about a world perspective and not, there's not. The only thing that I would say is that it decreases the population. So let's say someone was meant to be like a doctor or something and make a difference in the world. Well, two women can't have a kid. Yes, they can adopt, but that's one less person existing that God could have put here for a purpose.
Is it wrong for me to marry an infertile woman?
Well, yeah, but if that woman is infertile, no, I know where you're going with this, but what I'm saying, it doesn't actually hurt society in that sense. It hurts God. It's rebellion against God, and that is my argument.
Wait, I have
And
a
I'm not
question.
saying you have to agree.
Rachel, I appreciate you for the galaxy. Thank you so much, Rachel.
that's
Let's
what I
go.
believe.
Wait, Rachel, thank you for the 2 galaxies. I appreciate you for all the love. W. Rachel, I appreciate you for the love. Once again, do you think it is immoral for me to marry an infertile woman?
No, because she's a woman.
Wait, but I want to be able to reproduce with her.
Well, it's not about that. It's about the fact
You
that
just said it was.
Well, no, because Genesis, well, see, with my belief, it says God made them male and female for this reason. A man shall leave his wife or leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. It doesn't say cleave to his husband.
Hey, but it also, we touched on a massive issue with Christianity. I explained to you how God is partially negligent and responsible, and God was doing something bad by designing our biological systems in such a manner that would allow 3.1 million children to starve to death a year, which would effectively reduce to the conclusion that God is doing something bad, and you didn't have a response to that argument. So essentially, I offered a critique of your God that showed, given the current state of reality, and all good God wouldn't be able to exist, and you couldn't critique that. So as far as I'm concerned, this basis of, I don't know, the Christian God is very trivial and lacks good reason to believe it exists, and has good counter objections to it that have been presented by myself that you as the Christian haven't been able to respond to.
Well, you're
so
very
I mean,
intelligent
just
man.
not being able to like engage in a conversation with me about like the true facts of what it means to be lesbian in the sense that it's not a choice. And
Well,
we know
yeah,
this
well, of
because of
course,
the science,
all my basics
etc.
going to be
just
on the
all wraps back
Bible.
around to the Bible.
Yeah, I understand. And of course, as a Christian, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'll give you the Bible because that's how I base my life. But I just wanted to ask that one last question. Just that one last question. I know you've got other guests, and I'm not trying to steal any more time. I'm not trying to not engage. But can I ask you one last question?
Yeah, and after you ask me your one last question, I will ask you my one last question. Go for it,
Okay,
Jenna.
sounds good. I'm trying to give other people an opportunity to speak here.
Don't worry
But I
about it.
just
No,
wanted-
good conversations can go on for as long as they go on. Don't even worry
Yes,
about
but
it.
you'll
I'll talk
have
to you.
another good conversation. Okay.
But
So
go for
my
it, Jenna.
last question is this. You're very adamant on suffering, being a bad thing. And I get that. I'm going to ask my question. I'm going to talk really fast because I'm not going to take it. I'll say it in a minute or less. But like through suffering, I brought my 2 children in the world, and they're the most beautiful miracles that I've ever experienced. They have completed me in every way. I love my kids so much, right? So through suffering, good things can happen. When you lift weights in a gym and your muscles hurt and everything, you become more toned and ripped, and yeah, it hurts for a minute, and you have to go through a suffering process and self-control and all that. But you get a prize. So my question to you is, can good things come from suffering? And don't just think
Yes.
about, okay. So just go into that when you think about suffering and God, and how if everything was perfect, like I grew up with childhood abuse, and I look at it like it's really bad and everything, and there's been a lot of people saying, well, how can you still follow God when you've been abused and essayed everything as a child? It's things that no child should have to go through. I'm not going to say anything.
Wait, but if they lead to good things, why should no child have to go through them?
But what I'm
See, that's
saying
the
is-
thing. When suffering is all things considered good, i.e., it yields some greater outcome, we should go through that suffering. I go through that suffering every day at the gym, and I'd say I should go through the suffering of my muscles ripping because it yields some greater good.
Well, I'm
Or
saying
like when a vaccine causes a little bit of pain to my arm because but it also vaccinates me from dying from a disease, I should go through the suffering of the pain caused by the vaccine because it will make me immune to whatever virus. Right? Or, like, for instance, we could detail this in many ways. But if you're saying now that this is equivalent to the suffering that we see in the real world, such as children being abused,
I
well,
just told
would you
you I
say
was
all
abused as a
things
child.
considered, it was good that they were abused, that they
I told you
should
I was
have been abused?
I was abused as a child. Wouldn't I know more than anyone?
Well, see, if you're saying that suffering is all things considered good, this means it should occur.
Well, I
Do you
can
think
tell
that
you
you
what
should have
good
been
has come
abused?
out of me being abused. When I
Do you
talk
think
to
you
my
should have been
children,
abused, Jenna?
no, but when I talk to my
So
children,
then it's not all
I'm
things
a better
considered
parent.
good.
And I get to be, I'm not focusing on the past. I get to create all the memories I wanted as a child. I get to be the protector that I never had. I get to be the parent I never had. I get to be the person who is there for my kids in a way that I never had. And so that brings healing. That
Yeah,
brings
Jenna, I understand
healing.
what you're saying here. But if suffering doesn't yield a greater good, then it shouldn't have occurred. So you're saying that you shouldn't have been abused
You
when you're
know,
younger,
my
so it
life
didn't
has
yield a
been
greater good.
horrible in some aspects, but I wouldn't change it for the world because I have become who I am and it made me a better person. It made me
So
more
should you
empathetic.
have been abused?
I understand, but I've been able to help so
So
many
you should
people.
have been abused.
I think that if I hadn't been abused, I wouldn't be able to relate to so many people who are going through the
So
same
you're saying
thing.
that child abuse should occur?
I'm not saying that it should occur.
You
but
are. You are. You just said you wouldn't go
I'm
back and
saying
change
that
it
with
because it
God,
yields a
it
greater
can't
good.
break me even if it does occur. If I didn't have God, I wouldn't be here. And I'm saying that I was only able to forgive, overcome, and become better because of God. That's all I'm
Listen,
saying.
what I'm giving you right now, it's called the logical problem of evil. It shows how if any unnecessary suffering exists in the world, God is not all good. And if unnecessary suffering existed in the world and God could have made it otherwise, well, because God didn't prevent the unnecessary
Well,
suffering,
we live in a
God did
fallen
something
world.
bad.
We live in a fallen world because sin entered the world. So there's always going to be bad and nothing's going to be perfect until
Wait,
heaven.
I don't think that free will entails the ability to sin.
I do.
Do you think that God has free will?
What do you mean by that? Like he can do whatever he wants. Yes.
Okay, can God sin?
No.
So free will doesn't entail the ability to sin. In fact, it's compatible with only the ability to do good.
Free will means we have a choice. We can either choose God or we can choose atheism or we can choose whatever, but we can't be free from the consequences of those.
Wait, now you're equivocating on your terms. No, you said God had free will. So here's my claim. Free will
You have very
is...
good vocabulary for such a young man. I was an 8th grade English teacher, just complimenting it, but go ahead.
I appreciate you for that, Jenna.
No, really, that's awesome. Okay, go ahead.
So here's my claim. Having free will is compatible with only being able to choose between the good options. Here's why. Because if we just defined free will as the ability to choose, well, we would still have the ability to choose, or we'd still have free will, if we could only choose between the good options. So now I'm going to give you the evidence for why you should accept my claim under the Christian worldview. So you say God has free will, yet God can only choose between the good options. Therefore,
so God's
have free will and only choosing between the good options is compatible. There's one point of evidence for my claim. Another point of evidence, right? So the people in heaven have free will, but the people in heaven can only choose between the good options. Another point of evidence. So it seems like having free will is compatible with only being able to choose between the good options. Tristan, thank you for the cap. So when you say the reason that there exists evil and sin in the world is because it was necessary for free will to exist, well, my response to you is, well, free will can exist and suffering and evil couldn't exist in the world. That is possible.
I believe that God is the creator of, like, he knows what is good and what is evil, and until we learn his ways, we might struggle with what goodness is, because in the world will teach you get back at that person, that did you wrong, but Jesus teaches to bless your enemies, and so it's contrary to what the world teaches, and the world says find yourself, do you, be who you want to be, and Jesus teaches deny yourself and follow me and let me change you into the person that I created you to be. So it's just completely different. And I'm not belittling you, or I'll never disrespect you, dude. I try to be nice. I hope that I even if we disagree, that I've been nice. But
Yeah, no, Jenna, like
I'm just
you've been
explaining how I
you've been really
believe.
nice. Yeah, you've been really nice. Like I think maybe like you haven't been able to track some of the arguments that well, but I'm
I
not gonna blame
understand. Yeah,
blame you
yeah.
for this because you don't go on TikTok live like I do for 5 hours
I'm an
wasting
old
your
lady,
life
dude.
talking to kids.
I'm an old lady.
Yeah, like you said, you're in 8th grade at English. I don't blame you for that. You've been incredibly
I
nice
stay
and
at
I've
home
enjoyed our
now.
conversation.
I stay at home now. My son was diagnosed with autism, and I was a teacher for 8 years, and he's just so much better one-on-one learning. I don't like the school systems. I don't like that they have to sit 8 hours a day. So I work with him a couple hours, and he's good, and we do all fun things. So I left my career for my baby because I love him. But yeah, I'm here. I was listening to your live, and I'm thankful you were so respectful to me. So thank you for sharing your perspective, and I love to hear other people how they think either way because I evangelize and I like to hear what people think, even if I don't agree with it, I'm open to listen.
Well, I appreciate you for coming up here, Jenna. It's been a good conversation.
You too. I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
You as well.
All right.
All right, guys, we're going to move on to our next guest here, y'all. If we are on the guest request, make sure that we do think that being a lesbian is wrong. We are just looking for some debates here today. We're going to move on to our next guest. If you guys do want to support me, my Venmo and my PayPal are in my bio. I get 100% of the proceeds, and that is literally the best way to support me. But what's going on, Landon? How old are you?
Hey, Dean, I'm 18.
18, very nice. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
So can I ask you a question before I answer that, or no? It'll be real quick.
Yeah, sure.
It has to do with the topic. All right, thank you. I appreciate it. I've been wanting to come up for a couple of days. So my friend, she is a lesbian, but she's also a Christian. And I was talking to her about this the other day. I'm not sure how it came up, but we were talking about Christianity and stuff. And I don't remember how it came up either, but she was like, yeah, I still think I'm sinning and I'm living in sin, but I'm all right with admitting that and also being a lesbian because God forgives us all. And I'm not a Christian.
Yeah, I feel bad for her.
No,
so
me
what's
too.
the question? What's the question here?
And I was asking her, she was asking me why do I not support? I mean, am I not a Christian personally? And I was like, well, have you seen some of the verses and stuff like that? And I brought up a lot of your talking points, like the slavery talking point, stuff like that. I was bringing that up. And she said, well, how do we know that's God saying that and not a translation and stuff like that? And I'm like, well, it literally is God saying that. It's the Bible. And then I said, well, how do we know that it's not a mistranslation?
How do we know that the 10 Commandments aren't a mistranslation?
Exactly. How do we know the whole Bible isn't? So that's what, and I was just asking you for advice. What would you say I should say to her?
Well, yeah. So in Exodus 21, Moses gives us the commandments about how the slave masters could beat their slaves, and that's permissible in the eyes of God. In Exodus 20, Moses gives us the 10 Commandments. The translation of the 10 Commandments are just as likely to be correct as the translation on the laws of slavery. I'm guessing you don't actually think being a lesbian is wrong?
I don't think it is wrong at all, but I appreciate you for the conversation. Thank you.
Damn it! He got past me. He just wanted to come up here and ask a question. But hey, he was respectful, and it seemed like he had good motivation because he wanted to pull his friend out of Christianity. Whatever, I won't get mad. Hi, how old are you?
21.
21, very nice. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
I don't. I just really enjoyed your live and I wanted to.
I appreciate you for the love, Audrey. Audrey in the chat, thank you so much for coming up here and showing some love, and I hope that you do have a good rest of your day. I am going to move on to our next guest, though, but Audrey, thank you so much for coming up. Let's go and get our next guest up in here, y'all. Everyone just give us a moment, guys, and double tap on that phone screen, y'all. Double tap. Alrighty. We're pulling our next guest up in here right now. They're not loading in, moving on to our next individual. Low key, we've had some better debates today. There's not a whole lot of crazies, I typically feel like there's a lot of crazies that come up here, but we haven't had that many crazies today. Let's go and get our next guest up in here, everyone. Everyone just allow them a moment to load in. All right, William, you're not loading in. We're going to move on to our next guest. I saw Tashika pop up in the guest request and automatically leave. Did you accidentally do that? Hey, what's up? How old are you?
Hey, how's it going? I'm 33.
33, very nice. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
I don't personally think.
I appreciate you for coming up. We are just looking for some debates here today, but I do appreciate you for coming up. What's going on? How
Yeah.
you doing?
What's up, Dean? Just wanted to come up here and say, man, I love you, man. And you're doing a great job. And you're welcome.
They're so cute when they do that, though. I feel bad kicking them every time. Yeah. I feel bad kicking them. Are you busy or you want to hang out up here for a little bit?
I don't. No, actually, I'm gonna drop down. I don't want to frick up your algorithm. All right, dude.
Well,
But I love
hey,
you, man. Also, you're welcome.
yeah. W to Sheikah in the chat for helping get the main account unbanned, y'all. W to Sheikah in the chat for helping getting the main account unbanned. Thank you so much. What's going on, Ronald? How are you?
My bad. I didn't mean to guest
No worries,
request.
no worries. Guys, if you're watching the live and you do think that being a lesbian is wrong, make sure to hop in those guest requests. But if you are in the guest request, make sure that you're just here to debate. What's up, Ava? How do you?
I'm 19.
Nice. Do you think being a lesbian is wrong? Based off the nice tone of your voice, I'm guessing that you don't.
Well, so for myself, yes. Morally, for other people, no. And let me elaborate on that. Dating women is hard. Okay? It's tough.
All
and
right, Ava. Okay. All right, moving on. Moving on to our next guest. We're gonna go get Ronnie up here. True, but I feel like dating men is harder. Just putting that out there, right? At least the women don't light your car on fire when they break up, or when you break up with them. So, moving on to our next guest here. Let's go and get Marissa up here. Guys, let's try to get up to 300,000 likes, y'all. All right. No one is loading up in here, y'all. Everyone just give us a minute. Just give us a minute. What's up? How old are you?
What's up, dude? I'm 23.
Nice. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, why so?
I'll stop thinking that being a lesbian is wrong when I see, you know what? When I see the vast majority of lesbians and leftists, for example, not show any fruits of the spirits. For example, you, Dean, you're a great example of this. You have no love, no joy, no peace, no patience, no kindness.
Do you fucking hear your voice right now?
And no testosterone.
Andrew, how are you saying that I have no love, no joy, no peace, no kindness?
You showed none of the fruits of the spirits to me, Dean.
You're like, I will stop believing that you have no love, no joy, no
People lock them doors and turn them lights down low.
Okay, all right.
Yo, keep me up.
Dude, please. All right, let's go to talk to our next guest, y'all. We don't have that many guests. What's up? How do you?
Yo.
I didn't ask a yes or no question. I asked what your age is.
Oh, I'm 17.
Okay, goodbye. You gotta be 18 to be at TikTok Live. Y'all, we're just coming in here and we do think that being a lesbian is wrong. Make sure to hop in those guest requests, y'all. We are just looking for some debates and we are just at a guest request, y'all. Also, make sure to hit that follow.
No, don't kick me off. Don't kick me off because I've actually spoken to you before and we did have a little squabble.
Why do British people use such odd language? So, do you think being a lesbian is wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, how old are you?
19.
Okay, why are you laughing?
Huh?
Why are you laughing?
Oh, because my mate made me laugh. My
Okay.
bad. My
So
bad. Anyway,
you're like you might be a troll. You might be a troll, but I'll benefit of the doubt. Why do you think being a lesbian is wrong?
I just want to say first. I asked you this the other time I got on your live, and you didn't actually answer properly, and you changed the conversation. Why do you switch the conversation so much?
Why do I? Well, you understand that like conversations have a natural flow to them. I don't think that it's ever like some hard, unnecessary switch. It's just the natural flow of a conversation to touch on all the points given. But I will once again inform you this is not my like complaint line. If you would like to fill out a formal complaint on behalf of yourself in consideration of me or my actions, please email hello@deanwithers.com, and my secretary will charge you $5 per email each way. But I also think it's funny how ironic that was. So you actually completely changed the conversation by asking me why I completely changed the conversation.
Yeah, because
So irony aside, why do you think being a lesbian is wrong?
Well, I actually don't. I just wanted to stay on here to ask you that question because you talk about like touching kids and stuff. That was in the last live that I was in. I don't know if you talked about it in this live, but in the other one, and I just think it's a bit weird, honestly.
So, in what context did I bring up P3 idiophilia? I'm sure that there. Oh, maybe I was talking about Islam and how in the context of Islam, like Prophet Muhammad married a 6-year-old, like touched
To be
kids and stuff.
honest,
So
to
like
be honest,
I mean,
okay,
there's like a
okay,
lot of
yeah.
like
Just speak over
counter
me. Yeah,
responses in which
yeah.
this could be present in.
Speak over me, yeah.
What's that?
I said you can speak over me.
I mean, I was speaking first.
Yeah, but then you stopped and then I started speaking and you started speaking over me again.
So what are you getting at here?
I'm
I mean,
trying-
maybe you're just not like adult enough for these conversations.
Oh my god. I'm just trying to understand where all this stuff comes from, like where like you talk about like so much random stuff that doesn't even need to be.
Can you give me an example of me talking about random stuff?
I have.
Okay, I talked about like P3 and what was the context? Because that definitely could have been relevant given the context.
This was like, I think this was like 2 weeks ago or something, so I actually genuinely can't remember, but...
So you can't give me... okay, so why are you up here?
Because I'm trying to understand where this comes from.
Is the learning hurting your brain? I'm effectively a professor.
You're a what? A professor?
Effectively. I feel like I talk about history, I talk about analogies and nuance in conversation, and these can all be interrelated and go to show that a given point from a guest is false. But like if you aren't like there to necessarily like learn from all these things, it may sound out of context and very random.
All right. So Emily, do you know what an analogy is?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
That's not my name, love.
Oh, you just gave Emily vibes. What's your name? That was a genuine guess.
What? What's my name?
Yeah.
Megan.
Damn. Anyway, so yeah, Megan. So. I'm sorry, yo. I'm so sorry. I don't know why that tickled me so much. But yeah, do you know what it... So it seems like the issue that you had with Dean in particular here was the fact that he uses analogies in his... Like, analogies, like, particularly, like, reductios, like, ad absurdisms. Do you know what those are?
While you explain this, I'm going to go pee, and then I'm going to kick her and move on.
Can I listen?
Oh.
I'm sorry, dude. Look at He's gonna block me. He's gonna block me. Anyway, do you know what a reductio ad absurdism is?
No.
Yeah, so a reductio ad absurdism is basically when you give your opponent an analogy that applies their logic to the most absurd of scenarios, and if they don't agree with that particular absurd scenario, then that means that their logic is faulty. Because logic should be able to be applied to every relevant scenario, and if it does not apply to every scenario without a relevant reason as to why it doesn't, then it means your logic is faulty. So the reason that Dean brings up like P3 and things like that would be because it's a very good defeater. Because I don't know about you, but sexually engaging with children is damn, that was fast as shit. Did you wash your hands?
Washed hands, they're wet, baby.
Yo, bro's pelvic muscles are rock solid, bro. Came back mewing and everything. Anyway, but yeah, like I don't know about you, but like generally, thank you Evan for the $5 over Venmo. Generally, P3 is something that like most people agree is completely wrong. And typically when he will apply their logic to examples such as that, they will, typically what they're supposed to do is concede. And if they do concede to that logic, that means they don't agree with their actual initial proposition.
Yeah, but I genuinely, like, where does it come from? Like, that is my question. Like, where does that come from? Like,
because I just told you why. Because P3DO... Oh.
Yeah, I kicked her. I'm going to move on.
Okay. Okay.
Lost cause. Hey, I appreciate you for coming up.
See ya.
Adios. Alrighty, y'all. We're going to move on to our next guest. Yo, bless Tashika's heart for actually thinking that she would comprehend a damn thing. I mean, better than me. Truly. Better than me. Better than me. Moving on to our next individual here. Hi, how old are you? All right, they're not here. We're going to move on to our next guest. Y'all, double tap on the phone screen. We need to get this live absolutely pumping once more, y'all. We need to get this live absolutely pumping once more. Hi, Nicole. How old are you?
I'm 18.
How long do you think I'm going to believe that? I mean, truly. If
Wait,
you
wait,
were
wait,
in
wait,
a
wait.
universe where
Wait.
you're 18, pigs can fly. In a
Cállese.
universe where you're 18...
Cállate. Espérate un tatito, ¿no?
Oh, we're going to move on to the next guest. Let's go and talk to Jake. All right. Let's go ahead and... Hi, Jake. How old are you?
I'm 30.
30. Okay. What year were you? Well, that's...
1994.
So do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
Last time I answered yes, I got kicked, so I'm going to try to dance around this question by asking you, why do you think anything is right or wrong? Where do you get this basis of something being right or wrong from?
My preferences. So why do you think being a lesbian is wrong?
What says your preferences are right over someone else's?
Nothing, because there is no objective standard.
So everything is up for just debate, no matter what. Like, someone could go around just like unaliving a bunch of people for no reason, and
no, that's wrong. In accordance with my preferences.
So why would it be wrong, though?
Yeah, why is it wrong? Because I uphold a threshold deontic framework theory of rights, where we all have to uphold particular duties in which we'd have to others. If you'd like to research this particular theory of ethics, just look up Rossian particularism and Rossian pluralism, and you'll find this theory of rights that would go over prima facie duties. That's my normative framework. Yeah. So, anyways, why do you think being a lesbian is
what
wrong?
do you believe? Dude, last time I answered the question, I got kicked and was banned from live for a week, so I'm not going to answer the question. I'm just going to...
I didn't kick you. You got banned. You probably said something you shouldn't have said. So,
no,
I don't think me explaining...
30 seconds.
Yeah, if you got
So I'm just
you
gonna
understand,
get into the conversation.
you understand I can't ban you. That's what TikTok does.
Yeah, I'm sure it was somebody else, so that's why I'm trying to be very careful here
No,
and
like
just
the
jump
app.
into the conversation.
I have no interest in talking about why I think things are right and wrong.
If I was to say yes, what would be your next question?
I'd ask you why.
Because I believe that there is a moral standard that is being placed on us outside of ourselves.
Okay.
Because
nice.
we know.
How do you know that this moral standard dictates that it is wrong to be a lesbian?
I believe that the Bible is correct because I have had spiritual experiences through doing what it says.
Do you think that slavery is always wrong? Do you think that owning other human beings as property for life has always been wrong?
So we're talking about something. No, yes, I do not believe that that is a good thing.
Okay, then you think that the Bible is unreliable because in Leviticus 25 it tells us that slavery is not wrong. So if you find the Bible to be unreliable in the context of it dictating that slavery is okay, well then why would you find it to be reliable in the context of dictating that being lesbian is wrong?
So it was not like ruthless, like evil. It was like a job. So that's going to be that conversation. I mean, I believe that it was like working a job.
So when you work a job, are your managers allowed to beat you?
I believe it was.
When you work a job, are you
doesn't
forced
say
to be
that
their
you-
property
that
for
you
the rest
should-
of their life?
Nowhere in the Bible does it say that you should beat somebody.
What does Exodus 21 verses 20 through 21 say?
It says that you should not beat people.
Really? Because when I read it, it says if a
Yes.
slave master beats their slave to death, they did something bad. But if they beat them
Exactly,
and they
yeah, it's
recover,
saying that it's bad
So
to-
are we just going to interrupt me before I finish? I'll go ahead and finish. But if a slave master is to beat their slave and they recover in a handful of days, that's totally fine because it's their property.
Yes, it's saying that it's bad to do that.
No, it says that it is moral for a slave master to beat their slaves because they are their property.
No, it's saying that it's bad to do that. It also
I'm so
says-
sorry. Can you just read the verse off to us?
I don't have the Bible in front of me. If you
Okay,
want to,
I'll read it off to you. You're just rejecting scripture.
We're
at this
going
point.
off of topic though. We're
Wait,
talking.
no,
about
you made a claim, and
completely
now I'm
different-
going to beat it by giving you
You're
your
the one who
scripture. And you're
brought
saying
up
that we're going off a
slavery, I'm
topic.
saying.
So the reason I brought up slavery is because you can't say that slavery has always been wrong and cherry pick out and ignore the parts of the Bible where it says the opposite, but then still uphold that the Bible is a reliable moral framework for you to determine what is right and wrong based off on.
But you're
Like,
the
for
one
instance,
that's-
if you could ignore the verses that say slavery is permissible and the masters could beat their slave, why can't I ignore the verses that say being a lesbian's wrong? And then also Exodus 21 verses 20 through 21, anyone who beats their male or female slave with a rod must be punished if their slave dies as a direct result, but they are not to be punished if the slave recovers after a day or two, since the slave is their property.
But I thought you said that morality was subjective.
Do you not know what an internal
say
critique
that
is?
bad? Why would you say that that is bad?
Yeah, because once again, it goes against my preferences and my particular framework.
It
Are
goes
you really
against your
asking me why I
preferences.
think that slavery is wrong? The point
I
is
believe
that,
that
wait, so
the
what do you, wait,
slavery
does
that
your
you're
preference differ?
describing-
Does your preference differ?
No, I agree with you.
Okay, so then we still have an internal critique because you don't think the scripture in the Bible is a reliable,
But you're
accurate.
the one that is saying that
You are the one that is saying that the Bible is an accurate determinator of what is right and wrong, but then you ignore the parts where it says slavery is wrong. So you don't think that the Bible is accurate in determining what's morally right and wrong because you disagree with the parts where it says slavery isn't wrong.
But are you also ignoring the parts of the Bible that says that you should treat your neighbor that you're supposed to treat people with respect and be kind to others and humble yourself and like?
So do you think that owning another human as property for life and beating them as a punishment for their wrongdoings is treating them with respect? Because if you say no, then this is mere contradiction in the Bible that only further serves to show that the Bible's unreliable.
No, because I don't believe that slavery that you are talking about is what you are describing.
Okay, I'll go ahead and give you slavery as the Bible defines it. 1 second, sir. I'm going to go ahead and define slavery as
I've
the
had
Bible
this
defines it.
conversation with you like 50 times. Can we?
And all that you could say is nuh-uh. You could only say, I don't believe. Actually, give me the scripture that refutes what I'm saying. I'm giving you scripture to justify my argument. I want you to give me scripture.
An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. In this exact same chapter, saying that you should treat others. It's the exact same thing, saying you should treat others as you would treat yourself.
Yeah. So then then explain the contradiction. Explain the contradiction between the Bible saying treat your neighbors with respect, but then you could also beat your slaves because they're your property. And
They're not
beings for
saying
life.
that you should beat your slaves.
Wait, they're saying if you do beat your slaves, you're not to be punished, and it's more.
They're saying it's bad to beat anybody.
No, it's not. Give me the verse where it says
An
it
eye
is
for
bad
an
for them
eye,
to beat their
a
slaves.
tooth for a tooth. So
once again, what does Exodus
Again.
21 verse 20 through 21 say?
I don't know. Can you read it?
Oh yeah, I'll read it for a second time. Anyone who beats their male and female slave with a rod is not to be punished if the slave recovers after a day or two, since the slave is their property.
Yeah, is it saying you should do that?
If God said you may murder, would God be doing something bad? If God were to say people shouldn't be punished for raping children, would God be doing something bad? If God was to say that people shouldn't be punished for murdering their neighbor, would God be doing something bad? If someone were to say, should people don't punish people who commit genocides, would God be doing something bad? Yeah, every single time God would be doing something bad. But somehow when God says that we shouldn't punish people who own slaves and beat them, God's not doing something bad. Connect the fucking dots.
It's saying
I rest my case.
You're not listening to what I said.
I rest my
You're
case.
not listening to what
Gagged.
I said.
Fucking gagged.
Come on, dude. Did you hear what I said about the verse that says
Get fucking ate up, Jake. Yeah, you didn't even have a response. That's what I thought. L Jake. Moving on to our next guest. Hey, what's up? How old are you?
22.
22, very nice. Do you think that being lesbian is wrong?
Yeah,
All right, why so?
because it when people sin, it keeps them from.
Okay, I don't really want to continue to talk to Christians, so I'm just gonna go to
Wait. Yo, what's up? Yo. You gonna lose this debate then? Because I want to debate.
Okay, yeah, we're just gonna skip past all the.
Are you gonna
it's a
resign?
sin. No, listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth before you speak. Thank
But I
you.
can't do this to you. I can't just say, "Oh, I don't like talking to atheists, so therefore I'm not gonna listen to what they have to say."
So, no, I've just heard it about 10 times since I started my life. You think it's wrong because you think it's a sin in accordance with Christianity. So what is my position? I'm simply going to say that Christianity is false, that God doesn't exist, and you're just acting on your delusions to impact harm and marginalization onto the life of lesbian people. And the reason that I say that the Christian God doesn't exist is for this reason. You describe your God as all good, but given the state of reality, God couldn't be all good if God were to exist, for the reason that 3.1 million children starve to death a year. God could have prevented this unnecessary suffering by designing our biological systems to function in such a manner that if we were not to eat, we would not die as a result. Due to this fact, this suffering is unnecessary, and due to this fact, God causes this unnecessary suffering. Due to this fact, God is partially responsible for the unnecessary suffering, and given all these facts, God couldn't be all good. Since Christianity defines God as all good, and God couldn't be all good, God couldn't be the Christian God, and I rest my case. Anything else?
Hey, what gender? I mean this in a nice way, but you're not lesbian, right?
So, no, I'm not lesbian.
Are you gender fluid?
No.
Okay.
So notice how once I disprove the existence of
What
the Christian
gender?
God.
You're a man, right?
Wait, do you mind if I ask you a question first? Do you think you could always tell if someone's trans?
I could tell when you are.
I'm cis, buddy. I'm a male and I'm a man. I know. It's absolutely so funny when people come up here and start questioning what my gender is, questioning if I'm a man or a woman, a male or a female.
No,
but then all these ideologies
I was trying
also.
to be polite.
It's just
saying that as a mean way.
No, the funny. No, I know you didn't mean that in a mean way, but it's just ironic because typically, thank you for the hand hearts. Typically, another belief that is associated with the beliefs that you hold is the idea that you could always tell when a trans person is trans. But then somehow everyone that comes up here that argues your beliefs can't ever tell if I'm a man or a woman. It's hilarious. But
I think
hey,
maybe
man,
you're the common denominator there.
can you go ahead and respond to the argument that I gave you that disproves the existence of the Christian God? Because
The
just pivoting.
argument that was mostly just a bunch of word vomit, and I mean, it wasn't rambling, it was coherent, but it was for about like 5 minutes straight. I don't know how I'm supposed to summarize that, and I don't even know what you want me to say back.
I'll summarize it for you. God causes unnecessary suffering. Causing unnecessary suffering is wrong. God did something wrong, therefore God's not all good.
Well, I mean, when I want to explain to you why bad things happen, you don't like talking about Christianity, right? So
No,
why
I
are you
love
doing
talking
this
about
live?
it.
Well, when I wanted to talk about my point, I mean, you started talking about you almost took me down. You said I don't want to talk to Christians anymore.
No, I want to talk to you. I just don't want to talk to you about the Bible and the verses that you think say being a lesbian's wrong. Because we could just fucking jump right to the source of this issue, and we could debate on if the Christian God exists in the first place. Because I bet you could agree with me, if the Christian God didn't exist, the Bible wouldn't truly dictate what's morally right and wrong, so who would give a shit that it says being a lesbian's wrong?
So, the reason that bad things happen is because free will is necessary. And for free will to be necessary, there must be a choice between what happened is the devil revolted against God because angels used to have free will, and the devil is in power over the world at the moment.
Oh, brother,
But
does
that
God have
power
free will?
can be overcome with the power of
Yeah, we've already heard this. Does God have free will?
Let me think about this.
Matthew, thank you for the $6.66 on Venmo. W Matthew, W666 in the chat. Go ahead.
When we talk about free will, we're talking about a human having free will. And a human having free will is choosing
Wait, you just mentioned angels.
choosing either God's character or the character of
Now you're just lying.
rebellion or the devil.
You literally just mentioned angels. You literally just mentioned angels and the devil, and because these angels and the devil had free will, they fell and digressed from God's. But now when you see the issue and you know what? Not even worth my time. Moving on to the next guest. Not even worth my time. Let's just go to move on here. You know, sometimes I just catch myself like that. Like, not even worth my time. Hey, how old are you?
21.
Nice. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
I do, yeah.
Okay, why so?
Well, I'm going to bring in the Christian argument if that's...
Okay, is God all-knowing?
Yeah, of course.
So does that mean that God knows what it's like to take a 10-inch dick?
That's really disrespectful.
Is ethnic cleansing always wrong?
I don't really understand what you're arguing. Are we talking about gay people or?
No, we're talking about God. Is ethnic cleansing always wrong?
Yeah.
So God commanded something wrong when he commanded ethnic cleansing in 1 Samuel 15:3. He told Saul to gather his men and to slaughter the men and the women and the babies of the Amalekites.
I think you're cherry picking Bible verses right now to try.
Can I cherry pick some more? Is slavery always wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, so then when God tells us that we may buy slaves in Leviticus 25 verses 44 through 46 and tells us that we could own them for life and then tells us that we could beat them in Exodus 21 verses 20 through 21, God commanded something wrong?
Okay, so you don't believe in God, I'm assuming?
Listen, I'm just speedrunning the Christians because I've been talking to them all night. So now we're pulling out the big guns. We're getting straight to the point. We're being straight up and...
Can I talk to you about why bad things happen, like the last guy, or?
I mean, what's the relevance to that? I just showed you that God is bad because he commanded things.
No,
that
you're
think are bad.
you're saying God is bad because bad things happen on Earth.
No, I'm saying God is bad because you said ethnic cleansing is always
But
bad.
you would
God
agree
commanded
that.
ethnic cleansing.
Well, you said that little children die and blah blah blah, and
We're not pivot. You said ethnic cleansing is always bad. God commanded ethnic cleansing, therefore God commanded something bad. What's the problem with my logic here?
He did not command ethnic cleansing.
Okay, can we have a little bit of a Bible study real quick? Is that all right?
You're just going to pull verses and try to catch me in something. I'm actually trying to help you just understand God's character instead.
No, I'm literally just going to educate you on the story of Samuel.
Okay, I'm not going to lie to you and say that I know the Bible like through and through. Like I'm still pretty new in my journey with God.
I have a point here. So 1 Samuel 15:3.
Okay, you just cut me off.
I mean, because you're bringing up irrelevant shit. With all due respect, I don't care about your journey with the Bible. I care about the fact that you said ethnic cleansing is always wrong.
Because you don't believe in God.
And
so
1 Samuel 15:3, God is speaking to Saul. God says, "Now go and smite the Amalekites and utterly destroy all that they have and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass."
I'm telling you that I'm not like gonna fully have an answer for you when you're pulling. But your question is not about that.
What verse in the Bible tells us that being a lesbian is wrong?
The overarching theme in the Bible is that God made man and woman, and that man and woman should be together to become one flesh.
So, which verse in the Bible says that being lesbian is wrong?
Dude, you're really not like listening though.
I mean, you just don't know your Bible.
Like, I'm trying to be
you could have said Leviticus 18:22. You could have said Leviticus 20:13. You could have said Genesis 1:19, Romans 1:24 through 27, 1 Corinthians 6-9, then all of 1 Timothy. Just what's the point here? What are the verse 4 books of the New Testament?
Now you're not letting me speak.
What do you have to say?
I don't understand why you're laughing. I don't know the verses off the back of my hands, but I know that it's mentioned in Romans. I know that it's mentioned a couple times in Leviticus. And if you look at the overarching themes in the Bible, saying that God created man and woman, not man and man to be together in one flesh, not woman and woman to be together in one flesh. If you look at those themes over and over again, then you would know that being gay is considered a sin in the Bible.
So you can't say, you have to say lesbian, or else the live will get taken down.
Sorry, didn't know.
How do we know that the Christian God exists?
Because Jesus Christ is probably the most well-acknowledged historical figure in all of time.
Probably, but this doesn't mean that the Christian God exists. So how do we know that the Christian God exists?
Well, when you look at history textbooks in school, how do you know that George Washington was the president, or how do you know that these people existed?
In the same way I know that Jesus Christ existed. We have historical and archaeological evidence as well as contemporary and non-contemporary sources to corroborate these things. But here's the thing. The contemporary and non-contemporary historical sources to corroborate the existence of Jesus Christ don't corroborate that he was the Son of God, don't corroborate that he resurrected from the dead, don't corroborate that he was of a divine nature. I'm not asking you to prove to me that Jesus was a real man that walked the planet. I'm asking you to prove to me that he was a son of God or had some divine nature.
Can I speak now?
You could speak as soon as I'm done speaking, and I'll speak as soon as you're done speaking.
You've been cutting me off this whole time, so
what are you going to do? Complain about me cutting you off rather than responding to my points?
Well,
I'm sorry, I'll mute up so you can't use that as an excuse.
You're complaining about me cutting you off.
I'm going to mute up so you can't use that as an excuse, so you could actually just respond to the meat on the bone here.
Okay. So I was going to say that you would agree that Jesus was a person, but you would disagree that he was resurrected from the dead and that he claims to be God.
Because we have evidence that Jesus is a person. We don't have evidence that he resurrected.
Well, there were 500 plus eyewitnesses to his resurrection. So that's
Can you give me any reason to believe that's true?
Because the Bible was written by these eyewitnesses. It's the same thing with history textbooks, same thing with any kind of historical documents we have. They were written by people who were there, people who saw this happen, people who were friends with the astronomers and blah, blah, blah. We have just historical records of eyewitness testimonies, which is what the Bible basically is.
So this is funny. You said the people that were there with Jesus wrote the Bible. So did you know that
not all of them.
The first gospel in the New Testament was written 110 years AD. So that's not true. The synoptic gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and then the Gospel of John were written long after Jesus had died. So the individuals who wrote them weren't there. Additionally, we don't even know who wrote them. Nowhere in any of the Gospels does it mention the name of the author. Right? Church tradition just applies the names Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John to them. Additionally, when you're talking about these 500 eyewitness testimonies, no, that's not true. Someone said that there was 500 eyewitness testimonies.
But you could
give
say
me
that for
any good reason to believe that that claim is true. Give me any good reason to believe that the claim that 500 people saw Jesus rise from the dead is true.
I could sit here all day and try to, explain that to you, but I don't base my life, and nobody does for that matter, on 100% truth and evidence, because
I'm not asking you for 100% truth and evidence. I'm asking you for any reason to believe that it's most likely to be the case.
Well, you basically are asking me for 100%.
No, I'm asking you for evidence for me to believe that it's most likely that it's true.
Well, you would also have to believe in divine intervention, which is what a lot of the other authors use to write Jesus's word and, the word of God.
So give me any evidence that they were divinely inspired.
I would have to know them personally.
So you just have faith that they're divinely inspired. Is faith a reliable standard of dictating what's true and false about reality?
Faith plays a big part in it, but I also believe in, if you want to look at the prophecies that are, being fulfilled, that were written hundreds and thousands of years ago, that have happened on this earth, that are still happening now, I think that's another really good source to believe in the Bible, when things are being predicted in the future from a book written thousands of years ago. The Euphrates River drying up.
That dries up about every I don't know.
Yes, I'm very aware, but it says it in the Bible.
Yeah, it's dried up like 8 times since the Bible was written.
Okay, but the Bible was still written before that happened.
It's not a prophecy if it was occurring when the Bible was written, had occurred before the Bible was written, and was expected to occur after the Bible was written.
The Bible
not to
also
mention
talks
that the
about
specific prophecy of the Euphrates River drying up was supposed to denote the end of times. So the first time that the Euphrates River dried up after the book of Revelation was written was about 1,500 years ago, right? So why didn't the world end 1,500 years ago? If that was truly a prophecy that was truly fulfilled by the river truly drying up, we would expect that to be the end of times, but it wasn't. This is not a prophecy. Not to mention that you did say your only evidentiary standard for Christianity being true was your faith. If I have faith that you're wrong, does that make you... Okay, it wasn't faith. So then what's the evidence here?
I'm saying that faith is a big part of it. Also, I'm relying on research and
No, you're not.
Yes.
Yeah, what research have you done that proves that it is most likely true that Jesus is the Son of God? I don't think you.
The
You go ahead.
hundreds of is this a joke? Like, you're cutting me off every time I'm about to speak.
I'm asking you a very simple question. What research have you done?
I base it on the 500 eyewitnesses that were there.
Name one of those 500 eyewitnesses.
They were, well, I'll just name, the people who walked with Jesus.
Yeah, dude, please. So, can you prove to me that there's 500 people that saw him walk from the raised from the dead?
Can you prove to me that if I turn around right now, there's not a pink elephant in my room?
So you just have to. Well, yeah, actually, it'd be the most likely case that there's not a pink.
Yeah,
elephant
it's
in
the
your
most likely case, right?
Yeah, so prove that. Prove that it's the most likely case that there's 500 people that saw Jesus raising from the dead.
Well, if you're comparing to other religions, I think it's way the most likely
You're not
case
giving me
there
an
is.
argument here. Here, I'll go ahead and give you an argument that shows that the Christian God can't exist. Are you ready?
Dude, okay.
Okay. So
If your argument is going to be because bad stuff happens, then that's not an argument to me. In my
yes,
eyes.
it absolutely is. I mean, that wasn't going to be an argument, but we could go ahead and allow that. We could go ahead and touch on that. So
Well, you could
here's
touch
the
on
argument.
that.
So imagine we had an all-evil God. Would we expect an all-evil God to only allow things that would, all things considered, increase evil in the world?
No, I guess not.
Wait, so you're saying that an all-evil God's primary motivation for their decision-making process wouldn't be evilness? So they want to be all evil.
I'm sure it would be.
It would be evilness. So if an all evil God's primary motivation in their decision-making process would be evilness. And this all evil God would only allow things that are all things considered evil, correct?
I guess so, yeah.
So, analogously speaking, an all good God's primary motivation in their decision-making process would be goodness. An all good God would only allow things that are all things considered good.
I disagree with that.
Wait, what's the relevant distinction between an all-evil God only allowing things that are all things considered evil, which you agreed to, and an all-good God only allowing... I'm going to go ahead and mute you so I could repeat myself. What's the distinction between an all-evil God only allowing things in which are all things considered evil, that you agreed to, and an all-good God only allowing things in which are all things considered good, which you disagreed to? I'd say that these two circumstances are going to be one-to-one, completely analogous, and you'd be committing a logical contradiction by holding different conclusions. But if you disagree with me here, what's the relevant distinction?
Would you say that you're a good person?
Nope, I don't want you to pivot. What's the relevant distinction?
Well, no, this is vital to my argument.
Would I say I'm a good person? Yeah, I would.
Have you ever lied before?
Yes.
Have you ever stolen?
Nope.
I'm sure, well, I've heard you curse on here, so you curse. I'm sure you've done a bunch of other things, but like all of us. But I don't think you're, I wouldn't say that just because we consider ourselves good people that all of our motives are good, because we're humans. Now
okay, what's the relevance of this?
Now going to God, I think God is good. I think God is inherently good. He is, the most perfect human out of all of us. Jesus Christ was the most perfect human. So when he created the earth, of course, that was his intention. And man failed to uphold his intention. And that's why this is a fallen world and we have sin and corruption.
Okay, so you're actually not responding to the relevant distinction. I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay.
I don't think that you could actually really track the argument that well. Maybe we could try one of two things out. Also, everyone coming in from Parker's stream, I appreciate you for being here. Did Parker say that he was restarting? Here, let me just ask you this question. Is ethnic cleansing always wrong?
I'm not very familiar with the topic.
Ethnic cleansing is going to be the killing of a group of people because of their ethnicity,
Well, no, in communities and stuff.
No, just so ethnic cleansing is the genocide of a certain group of people because of their ethnicity.
Okay, so no.
You don't think that's always wrong? Also,
no,
Parker, wait, is Parker rating me, or are you guys just coming in here because he's restarting?
I was saying no. That's obviously not good.
So that's always wrong?
Yeah, but I don't think that's because of God.
Well, in the case of the Amalekites in 1 Samuel 15:3, it is because God commanded it. So if you're saying ethnic cleansing is always wrong and God commanded ethnic cleansing, this means God commanded something that was wrong. And if God commanded something that was wrong, this means that God is not all good.
Well, I wish I was more, you know, had more intellect to offer on that topic, but in the Bible, but unfortunately I don't.
Okay,
But
so do you just accept the conclusion that God commanded something wrong then?
no, I don't accept anything that I
So
don't
you're
have
making an
enough
argument from
information on.
ignorance.
I'm not making an argument at all because I don't know a lot about the topics.
Wait, I'll go ahead and inform you. So in the book of Samuel, we see
Yeah,
that
I know you're gonna read the verse.
Samuel is a prophet of God, right? So Samuel is a prophet of God, and Samuel talks about God, his experiences and conversations with God, as well as the experiences and conversations between King Saul and God, right? And if Christian scripture is true and correct, well, then God told King Saul that he wanted King Saul to ethnically cleanse the Amalekites. And that's coming directly from 1 Samuel 15:3. So can you please tell me why this minimal amount of information is not enough to conclude that God commanded ethnic cleansing?
I think you're okay. Number one, I don't trust really anything people say about the Bible who don't believe in it because 9 out of 10 times it's taken out of context or
Okay,
it's
can I have you
read.
can I have you open up the Bible right now and give me the context?
I can't study the Bible right now and tell you all the context.
It's literally one page. It
Okay,
is
but you're
20
notice
verses.
notice how I told you I don't have a lot of information about this topic, and you're harping
Wait,
on
but
it
you could
because
get it
you
right
know-
now because you could open
But
your
you
Bible.
know I can't. But you know I can't give you an intellectual answer because you know I don't.
You're
know a
saying
lot
that
on
you
this
don't
topic.
trust what I say because I don't believe. You don't need to trust what I say to read it for yourself. So can you read it for yourself?
Right now, you want me to study the Bible right now and
I
give you
just
all
want
the
you to
context?
read us 5 verses out loud that will
You just
prove to you
did
that
for me
God commanded ethnic
You just
cleansing.
did for me several times.
And then you told me that you didn't trust what I had to say because I don't believe it.
I would have to figure out for myself. I don't like taking other people's,
You're not taking my word for it. Okay, yeah, so figure it out for yourself. Open your Bible up.
That can't happen in 2 seconds. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
it certainly can because it is only 4 verses.
No, but there's a larger context in the Bible, the time period, and just
Wait, give me the context that would justify ethnic cleansing.
I'm not justifying ethnic cleansing.
Well, no,
just
you're saying that you
you're
can't
harping
come
on
to a
this one
conclusion
point.
without further looking at the context. So can any context
Okay.
justify ethnic cleansing and genocide?
You're gonna I'm not gonna stay on this live, but I just want to say.
All right,
you're
well,
gonna-
there you go.
Oh,
Goodbye.
but I
Yep, she couldn't hang. All right, moving on to our next guest, y'all. If you do want to donate, my Venmo and my PayPal are in my bio, ladies and gentlemen. Right, that is the best way to support me. I get 100% of the proceeds from that, as well as you get your name, an amount, as well as like an attached message at the top of my screen, y'all, that I could read off and give y'all a shout out. It's essentially the equivalent of a YouTube super chat, and it is the best way to support me. But what's going on? How old are you?
Hello, I'm 22.
Very nice. Do you think that being lesbian is wrong?
I believe that being lesbian is wrong.
So I say.
I say being lesbian is wrong because me and myself, I am a Christian believer.
I'm not going to have the same conversation over 10 times. We're going to go to move on to our next guest, everyone. We're going to try to get someone that isn't a Christian. I'm just really sick of the same conversation over and over again. Hey, how old are you?
I'm 18.
Do you think that being lesbian is wrong?
Being lesbian is most definitely wrong.
So why?
Well, first of all, being lesbian is wrong because so when we look at yeah, I'm lying.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next guest here. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone just give us a moment here. We are probably going to take a break from talking to the Christians. I just keep refuting them all, and it's getting really annoying at this point. Hi, Steph. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
No, I'm sorry. I just love you.
Well, I appreciate you for the love, Steph. Let's go to move on to our next guest here, guys. Let's go to talk to Mr. Dan, y'all. We're going to go to get our next guest up in here. Everyone, just allow us a minute, y'all. What's going on, Dan? How old are you?
Hi there. I'm 27. How are you?
Very nice. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong, sir?
To be fair, I don't see a lot of longevity in it. I'm not a Christian. I have no real feelings towards that, if that's what would make it kick me off. I don't believe maybe inherently wrong is the right word. I just don't see how there's a lot of longevity in
What does that
world
mean?
where everyone is lesbian or everyone is gay.
Okay, well, first of all, you can't say the GAY word. That'll get the live taken down.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
So, do you or do you not think it's wrong? I mean, you could say it's wrong for the reason that if everyone was lesbian, we want to be able to procreate, but that would be a reason why you think it's wrong. So let's just start off with the question. Do you think it's wrong?
I believe if you're going to define wrong as what would make us prosper and go further, then yes. Now, if everyone was straight forever,
do you think
I believe that
infertile
the
is
human
wrong?
race would have a brilliant chance of surviving. If everyone was lesbian or gay, then we wouldn't.
Yeah, I already told you, sir. You can't say that word. Next time you say it, I gotta kick you.
Sorry.
lesbian.
No, I'll be very aware. I don't mean to do that on purpose.
Yeah. So, do you think that being infertile is wrong?
No, but that is a free no choice.
Wait, but if everyone was infertile, would the human race continue?
No, but not everyone is infertile.
And not everyone's a lesbian, sir.
So, would you have a problem if everyone was lesbian?
I mean, would you have a problem if everyone was infertile?
I would certainly try to correct it.
I think that the world works in such a way where we will see like subpopulaces of human, right, that have shared traits that wouldn't be sustainable on the large scale, but it doesn't make them wrong, right?
Okay.
And this could be said literally about everything. Just let's take the example of being a philosophy professor, right? So if everyone alive was a philosophy professor, okay, this would mean that the world wouldn't be able to continue because no one would be working on the farms, no one would be maintaining the grocery stores, working on the roads, and most philosophy professors are virgins. So the world would stop working. But this doesn't make it wrong to be a philosophy professor. In the same way, right, like we could say on a larger scale, if everyone were to be lesbian, maybe our our birth rates would decrease to a point in which is unsustainable, which by the way isn't necessarily true. We have IVF and surrogacy, so it may be maintainable. But in a world where it wouldn't be sustainable, this still wouldn't make it wrong because not everyone is lesbian. No one ever will be lesbian. In the same way, not everyone will ever have blue eyes.
Okay, completely understand. And look, listen, I'll always hear your kind of point of view out. My point of view is, I think we'll have to say what the definition of wrong is. Okay?
Okay. So I'm just going to go and kick you and move on to the next guest now. Let's go and see what our next guest has to say, y'all. We're probably going to do a couple more guests here before we do get off for the day, guys. Why is it wrong to use the G word? Just TikTok bans it. Yeah, we're gonna do a couple more guests here today. I'm just not really fucking with these guests today. No one's giving a good argument. All these guests
Let's do it to
are
the
bad.
wall, steak, Dean.
Okay, no idea what the fetus said. Moving on to our next guest here, y'all. Let's go ahead and talk to our next guest. Let's go. Hi, how old are you?
20.
20, nice. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
No, women are hot, and Renee Rapp is the point.
Okay, I don't really know what you said there, but I thought I heard women are hot. So we're going to go to move on to our next guest at this point, guys. If you are in the guest request, make sure you do think it's wrong. What do you, hey, how old are you?
I'm 18.
Nice. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, why so?
Well, I mean, I don't blame them. Pussy's good. You know what I'm saying? As a dude and a girl, shit. But actually, no, I changed my mind because I'm kind of high as fuck right now. So,
dude, please, you remind me of like 3/4 of the kids I went to high school with. Moving on. I remind me of like, dude, 3/4 of the kids I went to high school with. 3/4 of the kids I went to high school with. Hi, how old are you? All right, they're not here. All right, y'all, we're going to go ahead and move on to our last guest of the night. The next person we bring up will indeed be our last guest, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go ahead and get him up here. Also, I'm happy with how well this account has performed today.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up? How old are you?
I'm 35.
Nice. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, why?
Simply because every human being that lives on the planet now and that ever existed came from a man and a woman. Like, for example, quick example, you look like you like life. You look like you're very joyful and happy about life. Now, that taken into account, if your mom was a lesbian and her mom was a lesbian,
Evan, thank you for the $5 on Venmo. I appreciate you for the love. Continue.
you would not be here enjoying this life that you like so much. In fact, nobody.
It's funny of you to assume that I'm joyful and happy.
In fact, nobody, I think, well, I know that's a fact. This is a proven fact. Nobody that lives right now would be alive if their mom or dad was liking the same sex.
Hey,
now
let me
that's
go
a
and ask you
proven
a question.
fact.
Would anyone alive today be alive if either their mom or dad were infertile?
Well, no, definitely not.
Is being infertile immoral?
Well, we're not talking about immoral. We're talking about a choice.
We're not.
Someone's
He's
infertility.
going everywhere.
Well,
He's freaking out,
someone's
chat. He's
infertility
starting to freak out now.
is not a choice.
He's really starting to freak out. Neither is being a lesbian. So the Netherlands Institute of Brain Research, the Center for Neurodoctrine Studies at the University of Pittsburgh in Massachusetts, and the Center for Neurochronology at UCLA have done an insane amount of studies on the neurobiology and anatomy of straight people and then compared it to like GAY or lesbian people. And their specific findings indicate that our sexual orientations, who we are attracted to, are hard-coded into who we are, into the shape of our brain, into our genome, the same way the color of my skin, the color of my eyes, or my height is. So what we see is GAY men on average have larger interior commissures, varying traits of the AI NAH3 subsection of the hypothalamus, as well as associations on the XQ23 chromosome, as well as like different levels of neurohormones such as the FSH in the context of our neuroanatomy. So just due to the overwhelming scientific consensus that these things are not choices but are rather programmed into us from about 8 weeks gestation with neonatal development, we're going to see that these two things would be quite analogous. Nicole's, thank you so much for the glowing jellyfish. And I'll just simply ask you, if you disagree with me on this, where's your facts, where's your science, and can you name one institution of medicine or science that would agree with you over me? Because I could name off 17 institutions of medicine and science that would agree with me over you.
Well, my friend, what you just did was name off a whole bunch of men who came up with the conclusion, or as you said, study. That isn't no fact. Studies are meant. That's what the name of the word, the choice of the word study entails exactly what it is. It isn't a fact. It's simply what it is, a study. Now, you're on this live bringing men that are prone to failures, their study and their ideals, and you're presenting it as facts. No, it isn't facts. It's exactly what it is, a study.
So
Now,
you think
if
it's a fact
study,
that it's a choice, right? So what's your evidence that it's a choice?
What's my evidence that it's a choice? Well, for the mere fact that every animal or everything that follows nature do not take that choice because it's embedded in nature.
I have a question here. So you're right. There is no GAY animals. Humans are the only ones. And everyone's saying that you're wrong in the chat right now. They're all liberals spreading propaganda, right? Paid by the DNC. So here's my question for you. In an alternate reality that obviously isn't real, that I will only bring up for the point of a hypothetical, if there were to be, 3,000 animal species that we observe same-sex relations in, would it be wrong to engage in same-sex relations?
Well, I think it would be an abomination for us as human beings if I put two gorillas of the same sex.
You're not following me here. You're not following me here. So here's a reduction of your logic. You said it was a choice because we don't observe any natural animals engaging in it in nature. So I'm going to ask you a very simple question. In a merely hypothetical reality that isn't real, that doesn't exist, if we saw 3,000 animal species, fucking other dudes fucking dudes, girls fucking girls and shit in nature, would it be a choice in that reality? Yes or no? click on your profile picture and click the icon of the mic. I can't hear you right now because your mic is muted. Click on that profile picture right there and click the icon of the mic to unmute yourself. As soon as you click on your profile picture, you'll see a pop-up of all these buttons. Click the one that looks like the mic to unmute yourself. I just sent you a request to unmute as well, so you should see a dialog box in the middle of your screen that's about that big that has a button that says unmute. So, sir, put your reading glasses on. Right now, put your reading glasses on and click that little picture of you in that bottom right-hand corner. You see it. I know you do. I know you do. Click on that. And then then you'll have a new menu pop up. It'll take about that much of your screen. And then you'll see an icon of a mic about right there where my finger that's sticking down is. I want you to click it to turn your mic back on. Thank you for the hand arts. Chat, I'm so hungry. What should I get for dinner? I really want this guy to unmute. I sent you a request. Hit accept. Hit accept, sir. Okay, if he doesn't turn his mic on now, he's actively dodging and running. He has a fucking pop-up box and a screen that big. Pizza sounds so good. Okay, as soon as I end this live, I'm gonna go to, Domino's, and I'm gonna get a small cheese pizza. Yeah, this guy's running. Here, how about this? I'm gonna remove you from the guest box. I want you to re-request the same way you requested to get up in here the first time. So hop in those guest requests again, Pooks. Hop in them. Hop in them, Pooks. Is he gonna do it? Oh man, I think he's running. Shit, I didn't even get a run the defeater on him. That is so unfortunate. Kalista, thank you for the paper crane. What's up? How old are you?
19.
Nice. Do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
All right, so I'm not really here to debate that. All right, so I'm basically here to...
All right, moving on to our next guest. Let's go and see what Gracie has to say. Last guest of the night. Last guest of the night. Hey, someone says boycott Domino's. Wait, really? Are we actually doing that? If we are, okay. Thanks for letting me know ahead of times. Also, y'all, my Venmo, and my PayPal are in the bio. They support Israel? God fucking damn it, dude. Damn it, bro. Fuck. Ah. Jeez, dude, why? Why do they have to support genocide? I don't know. Someone just said it in my comment section. I'll look it up. I'll see if they're on the boycott list. I'll see. Little Caesars is better than Domino's in my opinion. I'll see if they're on the boycott list. Dean, I'm so sorry we had to break the news to you. It's okay. I'll live on. Let's go ahead and see what our next guest has to say. No one is loading up for some strange reason. Just give us a minute here. Hi, how old are you?
Yo, what's up?
Hey, do you think that being a lesbian is wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, why? Also, why do you sound like you're talking through like one of those 2012 $30 Xbox 360 headphones? You know what? Irrelevant. Why do you think being a lesbian is wrong?
Because God put Adam and Steve.
You already fucked it up, brother. Say it again. Start from the top.
Because God put Adam and Eve, bro. Not Eve and Stephanie.
You fucked it up again. Is it Adam and Steve or Eve and Stephanie? Which one is it?
Man, you got me.
I haven't even given you a counter argument. I haven't gotten you.
I'll just give you a simple explanation, bro.
Okay.
So, the Bible doesn't say anywhere being a lesbian or gay is wrong. So, even if you do put people on here,
Nah, chat, we're just gonna go ahead and end for the night. I love y'all. I can't do this to myself anymore. Today was rough, guys. I love y'all. I can't do it. I had such a long day. I woke up and I went paintballing, and then I came home. I had to eat. I had to do homework. I had to clean my room, and then I had to go live. I can't do it anymore, chat. Ah, you know what? This topic is great because I really do love advocating for the LGBTQ plus community. It's not only something that I think is good to do, I think it's something that's necessary to do if you have a little bit of fucking empathy. You know what I mean? But let me tell you, the guests I get on this topic are, you know? Ugh. Wow. I think tomorrow, I don't know what we're going to talk about tomorrow. We could talk about the Christian God. We could talk about abortion. There's so many things we could talk about. But hey, one thing I do want to get out there before I do end for the night is you may like recognize that this is not my main account. This is like a fourth account. I'm going to be doing all of my daily debate streams on here for at least like the next 4 or 5 days. My main account has gotten like permanently banned twice in the last week, and it has been one hell of a time to recover it. So I signed out because it got unbanned. I signed out. I'm not even going to sign in for the rest of the week. I'm just not going to touch it because I don't want to risk it. So it'd be streaming on here. But yo, would someone drop Parker's in the comment section? Because we're going to end and I want y'all to go raid Parker. I want y'all to show him some love. Someone drop Parker's in the comment section, y'all. Debate Mormons? I would love to. I would love to. Hope they give it back. I did get it back. I just don't want to touch it. So everyone, I want y'all all to go over to @ParkerGetAJob's TikTok account, and I want y'all to spam Dean Raid in his comment section. I want y'all to show him some love. I want y'all to hype my boy up and make his viewers shoot the hell up. Everyone go over there and rate him right now. I love you all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace out. Also, join the Discord. discord.gg/Dean. Join code Dean, the only place you'll get updates about me, which, if you like my content, is necessary because TikTok is always banning me. They're always fucking up my shit. And if there ever comes a point where I get banned again, which it will, the only way you'll know is if you're in my Discord. discord.gg/Dean. Take care, y'all. Peace out.